For the 21st and final race of the 2016 season, Formula One combines its jet-setting lifestyle with the architectural glamour of the Yas Marina circuit. The sun is setting on the title race, and for the 30th time in the 67-year history of the World Championship, it all comes down to the last race. After crisscrossing the globe from Australia to Brazil via China, Canada and Europe, we arrive in the United Arab Emirates, close to the capital, Abu Dhabi, and to the 3.4-mile, 5.5-kilometre circuit that sits beside the Ferrari World Theme Park. Built at a cost of some £800 million, it was first used in 2009 when Sebastian Vettel took the first of his 3 victories here. But Lewis Hamilton can match that tally today, and if he does, with Nico Rosberg finishing 4th or lower, then Hamilton will join Vettel as a 4-time world champion. However, if Rosberg can maintain his cool and hold on for a top 3 finish, then the title will be his. Well, unsurprisingly, the circuit's a sellout this weekend, with fans travelling from far and wide to soak up the atmosphere of this gladiatorial contest between the 2 Mercedes drivers. And in contrast to the deluge in Brazil 2 weeks ago, we have bone dry, if slightly breezy conditions beside the desert. Everyone fired up for this championship decider. The grandstands are absolutely packed, with fans for all the drivers, of course, but all eyes are on the battling duo at the front of the grid, Hamilton and Rosberg. Both have taken 9 victories so far this year. Which one is going to go ahead in terms of race victories, and will that be the difference or not? Because if Hamilton wins and Rosberg is still in that top 3, the championship does go to Nico Rosberg for the first time in his career. So let's see how all the cars line up on the grid for this one. It is Lewis Hamilton on pole position, Nico Rosberg alongside him once again on the front row. On the second row, Daniel Ricciardo, great effort in qualifying to go 3rd, and Kimi Raikkonen out-qualifying his teammate again to go 4th. There is Sebastian Vettel, he starts 5th, and Max Verstappen is back in 6th this time with a bit of work to do. Nico Hülkenberg and Sergio Perez both showing great form for Force India as they try to wrap up 4th in the championship for the team. Fernando Alonso starts 9th, and Felipe Massa in his final race starts 10th. Valtteri Bottas is 11th, and Jenson Button in his last race starts in 12th place. Esteban Gutierrez is 13th with his Haas teammate Romain Grosjean next door in 14th place. Good effort from Jolyon Palmer to be 15th on the grid, and Pascal Wehrlein did well to get the manor out of Q1. And then Danny Kvyat in the Toro Rosso, they had all sorts of problems this weekend. Kevin Magnussen starts in 18th place. Felipe Nasr is 19th. He scored points last time out in Brazil. Esteban Ocon starts 20th. And the final row, Carlos Sainz with the Toro Rosso that did so little mileage during practice, and Marcus Ericsson is the last starter on the grid in the Sauber. Thumbs up from Jenson Button as he prepares to start this Grand Prix then. A man who's taken 8 pole positions, 15 wins in his career, and 50 podiums, and of course, all importantly, the 2009 World Championship. And also the last race for Felipe Massa. 250 Grand Prix, what a great round number to finish his career on. 11 victories he's taken in his career, 41 podiums. He just missed out on the World Championship himself. But 2 drivers that have brought so much to Formula One over the years and who go into their final race here today. Well, of the new breed, Daniel Ricciardo is one of the most popular, of course, and he's got a real chance to get in amongst those 2 championship contenders. But it's all going to be about Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg as we prepare for the start of the final race. Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg share the front row for the 14th time this year as they prepare to lead the final formation lap away And off they go, cleanly for all the cars so far. Last car there of Marcus Ericsson is the one that we're keeping an eye on. Yeah, they're all away cleanly on the final formation lap. But which of the two Mercedes drivers is going to be world champion at the end of this 55-lap race? Looking at the start tyres, amongst the top 10, we know they have to start on the tyre they qualified. That means the Red Bulls are out of sequence. They're on the super soft tyre. Bottas is on the ultra soft tyre, so he's chosen the softest tyre. But behind him, there's a real mix of strategies going on. Button on the soft, Gutierrez on the super soft, Grosjean on the soft, and Palmer and Wehrlein on the ultras. Karun, it really is a very mixed lineup in terms of tyre use outside the top 10.
Yeah, you're right, Ben. A huge range of tyres there, but the difference between the super soft and the ultra soft isn't as much as we'd normally see. Keep that in mind. Now, Ben, just a couple of things. I spoke to Pat Simmons and Paddy Lowe just on the grid, and one thing to keep in mind is that they think overtaking is going to be quite tricky here because there's a strong tailwind from turn 7 back to turn 8 on the long straight, and that's going to make the slipstream less effective, but also the exit out of the turn 7 quite tricky for the rear of the car.
Right, we'll keep an eye on that. The breeze has been blowing quite stiffly this weekend, although it's just dropped a little bit now as we go into twilight here. In the Drivers' Championship, of course, the gap is some 12 points.
Interesting to see the drivers weaving from side to side. I think it's a sort of you know, you see the guy in front do it, and then you think, well, he's doing it, so maybe I should give it a go. That's a lot more than we've seen in the last few Grand Prix. So it's as much as the driver's trying to get a feel for what the bite is on the front axle with the 100 kilos of fuel on board. That's the big difference, of course, from when they last drove the car. They had fumes on board. It was the raciest moment of the Grand Prix weekend. And, well, this is probably the most nerve-wracking moment of the Grand Prix weekend if you're a mum.
Absolutely, Jenson Button's mum watching him in a Formula One car for the last time as far as everybody is concerned, and Lewis Hamilton's mum is also here. So how nerve-wracking is it for them? It is for everybody to see how this finale is decided. There is Nico Rosberg. He has to hold his nerve. Yes, second or third will do, but he can't afford any mistakes. And just remember, they've had some problems getting these Mercedes off the line, not just Lewis Hamilton. Rosberg's made a couple of not great starts in the middle part of the season. Both the German Grand Prix and the Hungarian Grand Prix were races where he was on pole, but actually did not make the best start. Lewis Hamilton beats him on those occasions. Of course, Hamilton's made some particularly poor starts. We think back not too long ago to Japan, where he lost many places at the start of the race. He feels he's got that all sorted now and that he will be able to get off the line cleanly, but let's wait and see. Behind, of course, we've got a Red Bull and a Ferrari. Ferraris are always known for their quick starts, but the Red Bull is on the super soft tyre. A little bit of angle there from Nico Rosberg as he lines up.
And Hamilton as well, you've got to say. They're both lined up and ready for action.
This is great stuff. They are preparing for the start of this title-deciding race. You can imagine the tension down there at Mercedes as well. The last car of Marcus Ericsson moves into place. Two drivers who know each other inside out, going head-to-head for the title in the last race of the season. Lights out, away we go. Hamilton makes a good start, but so does Rosberg. It's going to be pretty even, but Rosberg's going to slot in behind Hamilton, and they've gone away on Raikkonen. Ricciardo locks up. Vettel trying to get alongside. Good start from Vettel. Oh, round goes Verstappen. Verstappen spins in the middle of the pack. He is missed, and he is going to be right down at the rear of the field. There's a bit of pushing going on between Magnussen and one of the Saubers coming out of that section. But Hamilton leads. Rosberg is in second, and Raikkonen is third.
And that is a dream scenario for Rosberg as he sees his mirrors. He knows he's got Raikkonen. He's more subtle in his racing technique than a Daniel Ricciardo would be. He knows he's not going to take the big risk in the braking zone, so he will be breathing a massive sigh of relief.
Jenson Button right in the mix with a group of cars, including Julian Palmer and Romain Grosjean, trying to survive this first lap. Hamilton from Rosberg, and then Raikkonen, and then chased by Ricciardo. Look at the two Force Indians. Perez down the inside of Hulkenberg. Did he complete the manoeuvre? Not quite. Hulkenberg holds him off for the moment. Both these guys going well in 6th and 7th, but they need to finish this race. They want to hold on to that 4th place in the Constructors' Championship. Alonso's had a good start. He's up in 8th place as Ricciardo's having to defend from Vettel.
Well, look down through the order. Verstappen's already passed a few cars coming out of that chicane. You can see he makes a long comeback from the back of the grid.
Yeah, this could be interesting to watch him fight. Look, Massa and Bottas are fighting away here for Williams, and Bottas wants everything he can get out of this. They're just inside the top 10 at the moment. We've got a yellow out there at this point in sector 2. Haven't seen a major problem yet. Hamilton and Rosberg just opening up, but will they open up, or will, at this point, Hamilton decide to try and slow things down, to try and cause Rosberg any problems? That's the big question. Nicky Lauda reckons he won't do that, but let's just wait and see.
Yeah, well, they're not using DRS at this stage of the Grand Prix, the ability to then make it a bit easier to close up on the car in front. You can see Rosberg visibly hustling the back of Hamilton as the Force Indias there go wheel to wheel into turn 1. Interesting little battle there between Hulkenberg and Perez. End of season, all to play for.
Perez was actually ahead over the line, but Hulkenberg got him back again, so Hulkenberg's in 6th. Perez is in 7th place. They're chased by Alonso, who's made another good first lap here. Oh dear, and we've got problems already for Kevin Magnussen. He was involved, I think we saw him battling with the Sauber, didn't we, at the start?
Yeah, there was clearly contact there as they came through that first sequence of corners, but largely speaking, it was a very clean start to this Grand Prix. And again, you can see Rosberg. I think Hamilton is just finding where he is with the car heavy with fuel. He's in no real rush right now to open the gap.
No, I think that's right. He's not charging away at the moment. Meanwhile, Felipe Massa there, fending off his teammate. Hamilton just a little bit further away.
Well, this is exactly what you're alluding to, Ben. You know, Hamilton needs to sort of back Rosberg into Raikkonen. You know, will Raikkonen sort of change, you know, you say leopards don't change their spots, but, you know, Raikkonen tends to, when he's been successful, it's been outright speed rather than by being aggressive in wheel-to-wheel racing. That is sort of a trait that's more there with Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen, who's now put himself out of contention.
Correct. How do these cars all compare down those main straights?
Well, Ben, actually, the Ferraris have been really quick yesterday in qualifying. With the DRS open, the Ferraris were faster than both Mercedes and Red Bull, and by a reasonable amount, 8 or 9 kilometers an hour. So, if you think that, you know, Hamilton is backing Rosberg into Raikkonen, once the DRS is open on this next lap, that could be trouble for Rosberg.
Well, let's see what happens then as the DRS is enabled, and the next time they go down there, it will have a bit of debris. Hamilton just ran over a touch of debris going down towards turn 1.
Yeah, that well, it's splintered up pretty quickly, so that looks like it might be some a ply of carbon fiber rather than an actual winglet or something like that. But that is particularly dangerous for these tyres. We know the Pirelli can be susceptible to cuts, and well, as they sort of settle down now, looking to find the opportunity, DRS is now enabled. So when they get into the activation point, which is just coming up as they break down into this tight hairpin.
Yeah, we're on board here with Verstappen, who is, as you say, already making up places. He's behind Grosjean and Nasser, and he dives down the inside. That was good judgment, but the Haas is still there with him.
That's fantastic that the Haas was able to react. And look at the difference in speed. You may well have a car that doesn't really go around the corners very quickly, but there's no problem with straight line speed from the Haas that's got the DRS from the car in front. But we have to assume that Verstappen had DRS activation as well, and Hazard in contact there. He's had to really lean on the Haas and squeeze him out.
And Grosjean under attack, yeah, and got passed by Gutierrez, his teammate, as a result, because he got squeezed so wide by Verstappen. And Bottas gets past Massa. So a change between the two Williams drivers. That brings Massa up into 9th place. He's on the fresh set of ultra-soft tyres, remember, whereas Massa's on the ultra-soft, so he did qualifying on.
Yeah, that was a lunge on the brakes down into turn 11, but perfectly executed.
Up front, Hamilton just 0.7 of a second ahead of Rosberg, with Raikkonen tucked in behind. This is how Massa got past, Bottas got past Massa.
Yeah, took the tight, shallow line, nearly connected with the back of the McLaren, but good wheel-to-wheel action from those two, and crucially avoided locking up, which at this stage, when the car's so heavy with fuel, can really cause you problems.
So the Mercedes are not disappearing up the road. They are being kept in touch by Raikkonen, Ricciardo, and by Vettel. Fastest lap there by Lewis Hamilton, but you get the feeling he could be going faster if he wanted to right now. A quick point to make is that Jolyon Palmer's running in 11th place. We saw him in the mix on that first lap, and he's actually running in a very strong 11th ahead of Button in 12th.
Well, it was tight enough start for both the Mercedes cars. The woes of getting off the line in a tardy way of the past definitely behind them, but as we're going to watch out here, it looked as if Rosberg got initially a slightly better drive, but then Hamilton just absolutely cleared it up. Now let's keep an eye on Verstappen. What happened here? Was there contact? Yeah, there was indeed. So he connected with the side of the Force India, It looks as if Verstappen just let the car run a little bit wide as he went through the turn. It wasn't the best start for him. Gets outstarted, goes for the inside, always going to be compromised. And let's just watch, as he goes through the apex, he runs out into slight contact with Hülkenberg. And, well, racing incident, but if you had to apportion who had clear sight of the car in front, it's definitely Verstappen. So let's see it from his point of view. Compromised on the inside line, bit of a lock-up from the Red Bull ahead. Bang, contact right on.
Yeah, well, I didn't get much space there. Do you have any damage on the front wing?
We're checking everything at the moment. How does the car feel?
All okay for the moment.
Didn't get much space there, he said, but I think Hülkenberg was fair.
Yeah, it was fair. That was just a racing incident. Right, let's just watch Raikkonen on the brake. So it was Daniel who locks up front left. Had to concede the position on board with Magnussen. So a tardy getaway for Magnussen. Look at that. Your heart sinks when you know that you haven't quite launched properly. So tries to make up for it. You can see the Toro Rosso there getting a little bit wide. You can see Verstappen doing his spin and almost connects with the back of the car. And normally this section, they're absolutely flat through here in qualifying, but he get completely caught out with the fact the cars were braking ahead of him.
So this is actually on Hülkenberg rather than Perez, and he got the. We don't even notice the tap
No.
from Verstappen.
He would have felt it, of course. He would have seen flash of Red Bull through the side of his mutters, but.
So Lewis Hamilton is leading this race in the very early stages. We're on lap 5 out of 55. He's chased by Nico Rosberg, who's doing enough to win the championship at the moment. Still early days, and it looks like Hamilton's trying to control the pace and hoping that maybe they can work it so a few cars get between himself and Rosberg. There is Alonso, he's in 8th place. 9th for Bottas, Massa coming through, and Jolyon Palmer in a good 11th, then Jenson Button in 12th, chased by Danny Kvyat. Max Verstappen, though, now on the attack of the man that he replaced at Red Bull, and it's a pretty straightforward move down the inside there for Max Verstappen to move into 13th place. So he's picking up the pieces as Roger Federer, fascinated by what's going on in these early stages. Karun, talk us through the winners and losers of the start of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, Ben, you just mentioned Jolyon Palmer. He's had a great opening lap, 4 places up. Start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, Kev, I'm very sorry, but we're going to have to retire the car, so box this lap, please.
So that's bad news on the other side of the Renault garage. The two Haas cars have gone back, Ben. They're down into 15th and 17th, while, Danny Kvyat, you just saw being passed by Max Verstappen, but he's actually up 3 places from where he started the Grand Prix.
Right, well, sad to hear that we've got a retirement already in Kevin Magnussen.
Something is wrong, we'll read after it. The car is bouncing like hell.
Something wrong with the rear damper or something, says Bottas. The car bouncing a lot. And they've had this once before, actually, where they had a mid-damper fail on them, but that was a while ago now, a couple of years ago, I think. So let's hope it's not that, but maybe he's the feel he's getting from the car is similar to that experienced on that occasion. We're just seeing the two Williams guys. Have they swapped back around again? I think they may have done.
Yeah, Massa has got in front of Bottas, so is that because of the issue that Bottas has? So he goes defensive into turn 11, runs a bit wide, compromises his line through 12. Massa now has the cutback, and Bottas very submissive there, so definitely suggesting to me that he feels that he's got a major issue with the car, and he's dropped back from his teammate already quite a bit into the pack behind.
Well, if this race were to finish in this same state, then you can see on the graphic that Rosberg would be world champion by 5 points from Lewis Hamilton. So that's the situation right now, but at very early stages of this race, you've still got to think about mechanical reliability. We've lost one car already, Magnussen retiring for the 4th time this season from a Grand Prix, and a shame for him to end his career at Renault with a non-finish. He moves to the Haas team for next season.
Well, he's taken a brave decision, hasn't he, to walk away from a works team. He wasn't happy with the length of contract that was being offered, and then going to Haas, that's absolutely an independent. They've done I think a respectable job in their first year.
We'll drive it back into the garage and we'll have a look. We won't retire.
Right, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's hope that they can get that car back out. But Kevin Magnussen actually still in the car. I wonder. They certainly said it looked like they were going to have to retire this car, but they're doing their utmost to see if they might be able to send him back out on track. So we're back on board with Verstappen here, and he is now up behind Jolyon Palmer as peeling off, that Button peeling off into the pits. No, it's Bottas, of course. Bottas peeling off into the pits. Verstappen already ahead of Button. So now he's trying to get past Jody and Palmer.
Yeah, we've got, sorry, Ben, we've got another couple of cars heading in, the Toro Rosso and also Verline. So that's quite early stops for them.
Yeah, and Carlos Sainz, who's come in for Toro Rosso, so as you say, quite early stops for those guys as Bottas's car is pushed back into the garage. Karun.
Yeah, the reason I think they're doing that early stop is Verline was another one who lost out actually on the opening lap. He started fantastically from 16th, as we know, got into Q2, but he was way down in 20th. So I think the team decided, you know what, let's do something different here.
Max Verstappen has moved up another place. He's into 10th. This is a pretty rapid climb back through the field. We've seen this in the past from Red Bull here, on board with Hamilton.
So box, 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 box.
So they're going for the pit stop relatively early here on lap 7.
It is, and that potentially is going to chuck him into traffic around Palmer, I would imagine. So that is, that could give him some difficulty if he doesn't have a big enough gap over Rosberg. So if he gets held up on his outlap, Rosberg, let's say, gets a clean outlap, then he could end up jumping him.
Of course, he gets the first call on strategy, being the race leader. Mercedes haven't changed anything there, and he is responding to that call. He's straight into the pits. He has the advantage by having the first pit stop, the so-called undercut. It's an advantage to stop first, and this will give him a bigger gap then over teammate Nico Rosberg. He'll be going onto the soft tyre, and also in has come Kimi Räikkönen. Now that's really interesting.
Slow getaway there. Right rear, it looked to me, Ben.
Waiting for Kimi, I think, a little bit, but Kimi is a danger to Rosberg here. So it's going to be very interesting to see how much performance they've got on that soft tyre by the time that Nico Rosberg makes his stop.
Well, be sure that Rosberg will be now in qualifying mode. You know, he doesn't have to particularly take the risk on the engine, but if he wants to make sure he's not vulnerable to Räikkönen, we've just seen him go fastest of all in that first sector and making full use of that Mercedes.
Lewis Hamilton comes out just in front of Max Verstappen. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Verstappen has stayed out there, of course, but Lewis Hamilton comes out behind. Mark Webber, you saw that... Oh, hang on, let's just listen to Rosberg.
It'll be box, box, box this lap, Nico.
Yeah, as expected, Rosberg coming in. Mark Webber, you saw that stop. Anything to draw from that?
Yeah, Lewis's stop, I just think the light system was extremely conservative with the car in the fast lane. So obviously Kimi was there, but they could have released him. Here it is now. If you watch, they could release him right now. Go. Like, wow. I mean, this could be 50-50 with Nico on the outlap. He's got a clear lap, but it could be very interesting to see how they come into the first sector together.
Great observation. Thanks, Mark.
This is all. This series of pit stops has triggered some action here, Ben, which we need to keep an eye on whether people lose out in this round of stops.
Yeah, well, Rosberg will come out behind Verstappen, won't he, in theory, because Verstappen right up behind Hamilton. So that's going to be interesting. So Rosberg needing a good lap. A great first sector. His middle sector not quite so good, showing that the tyres are definitely past their best, these ultra softs. And remember, Red Bull was starting on the super softs and they've got longer to go. In comes Nico Rosberg. He was second before the stops started to be made, and also coming in behind him, I think, Vettel. And they're waiting as well, look. It's the other Ferrari, same situation.
Yeah, that's right. They just didn't want to get tangled up in an unsafe release and blocking a car. So, you know, you make your decision on strategy, but you, of course, can't control those others that are out there. Hamilton's gone through already.
Hamilton's gone through. Raikkonen's just going past the pit straight there. All this is going to be together. Rosberg and Raikkonen. How will it be? Watch on the left for the Ferrari and on the right for Rosberg. And Rosberg's going to come out in front of the Ferrari. That was so crucial for him to be able to come out in front of Kimi Räikkönen. But he is behind Max Verstappen, who's on a different strategy, having started on the super soft tyres. So, as they rejoin, Ricciardo is now the race leader, Perez is in second place, Hamilton's in third, Verstappen's in fourth, and Rosberg is in fifth.
Well, unfortunately for Raikkonen, Rosberg will pick up DRS off the back of Verstappen. And you can see he's just disappearing off into the distance. Verstappen doesn't have that luxury, so his rear wing is closed. Rosberg having a little look, but don't expect any help at all from Verstappen. So this, if Raikkonen is going to challenge to get himself second in this race, if we assume everyone's going to finish, he has to try and take it now when Rosberg's being backed up by Verstappen, who's on older tyres.
Good laps being set by Daniel Ricciardo at the moment, the race leader on the super soft tyres. This strategy of Red Bull's different from everyone else's, but it seems to be working quite well at this stage. So Ricciardo could be another player here in the battle for certainly top three and could get between or even in front of the Mercedes. So let's not discount Ricciardo from this yet. Meanwhile, I think it is all over for Bottas, yeah, and sadly they have retired the car. He's been so consistent this year, only had the one DNF before this. So this was the replay of the pit stop, David, where they were very cautious on exit.
Yeah, the chief mechanic would be the man with his finger on the button, and they just do not need to take any risks, as Daniel Ricciardo has been in for his pit stop.
So let's see where this brings him out against Hamilton and Verstappen and Rosberg. They're all heading down into turn one at the moment. So it's going to be pretty close with Raikkonen and Rosberg when he rejoins. So Hamilton comes through, Verstappen next up, Rosberg, and in fact Ricciardo comes out with Kimi Raikkonen. Is he going to be able to attack here?
Will he have a go on the brakes?
They're purposely making Verstappen slow, so you need to get past him.
Rosberg being told that you've got to get past Verstappen because he's on a different kind of strategy. Meanwhile, Raikkonen just fending off Ricciardo, who did have a little look at it.
Yeah, that was great stuff from Raikkonen. He could see what was on Daniel's mind and blocked it down. Good, fair racing. You can see already some debris building up on the side of the track, showing the degradation of the tyre. Verstappen going defensive, but he's probably going to struggle to defend again as Daniel tries to go around the outside.
Oh, very deep into the chicane, but Raikkonen again has him covered. Great stuff between Ferrari and Red Bull. Remember, Kimi Raikkonen's a former winner at this track. Rosberg is getting frustrated, though. He's trying to get past Max Verstappen. He goes down the outside, but he's not quite there enough to get in front.
Will he be able to do the cutback like we saw from Massa and Bottas? No, not enough at this point, but yeah, this will be heart on the mouth type stuff for Rosberg, as he'll be able to see the cars lining up behind him.
Yeah, and this is not what he wanted, is it? To be involved in a battle right now, but it's just the way it's worked out because of Verstappen's spin on that opening lap, and because he's staying out there on these super soft tyres, so he's not purposefully trying to mess up the championship battle, but it's certainly making it very interesting because Raikkonen is now closing up. He's in fourth place at the moment with Ricciardo in fifth. Karun.
Lewis Hamilton, guys, the last lap of 47.2. This time around, 47.
With Verstappen, you're doing the right thing.
Okay, Tony Ross to Rosberg there. But Lewis, the last two laps in the 47s, so a long way slower than his ultimate pace. I think he's trying to back Max into Rosberg as well now.
It's all going on, isn't it? Well, fair play to Hamilton. He's got to try and do what he can to put Rosberg in a tricky situation, and Rosberg's got to try and fight his way out of it. Here we are on board with Rosberg. Sits there in third place on much fresher tyres, of course, than Verstappen.
Yeah, I think just to back up what Karun's saying there, you know, we're 11 laps into this Grand Prix. Top six are covered by 5 seconds.
We're low on battery, Kimi, just be careful with K1. I know you need it, just be careful with it though.
So it must be a setting that Kimi Raikkonen may be using to defend his position currently from Ricciardo and try and close up to Rosberg, but can't use too much electrical energy as Kimi's wife watches impassively at the moment.
Yeah, fair play to Raikkonen. He's had a very strong end to the season, and it's encouraging to see, because if we remember back to the beginning of the year, he looked a little bit like he'd mentally checked out, but he's absolutely on it now, and Vettel must well be wondering, you know, it's been a frustrating season for him, and he's been out-qualified the last 3 or 4 races, hasn't he, by Raikkonen, who's now in front of him as well on the racetrack.
Back on board with Rosberg, still chasing after Max Verstappen, who at this stage is not giving him a chance to go through. Karun.
Yeah, I think we ought to point out, Mark Webber just mentioned to me that Max Verstappen's done an outstanding job on really used tyres. He's keeping up with these guys in terms of pace. I mean, how is he doing that? That's incredible tyre management from him.
It is very impressive, that's right. As you say, wonder if Hamilton's going completely flat out at this stage, but nonetheless, he's fending off Rosberg, and Rosberg's trying very hard. So it is great stuff as ever from the sensation of 2016, Max Verstappen. Third place for Rosberg, fourth for Raikkonen. Ricciardo and Vettel are still in the hunt.
Well, just to put in perspective, there's no question that they'll be pushing towards the limit of what the tyre can take with this amount of fuel on board.
Looking after that front tyre, right front tyre.
Yeah, the right front tyre is the one that takes a lot of load here, David.
Yeah, especially in the early stages of the Grand Prix. They've changed tyres, but they're still heavy. They've still got a lot of kilograms of fuel on board. So it's like carrying a passenger. And as that burns off each and every lap, more than a kilo of fuel is burned, and the car just starts to respond. But I think the performance level that we're seeing here, you've got Hamilton running 8 seconds slower than in qualifying. So, you know, in terms of racing driver, to drive a second slower is so much easier than being on the pace. To be 8 seconds slower, taking into account the fuel, it's a walk in the park, really. So he's backing them up.
Perez has easily passed Jenson Button there and moved back into 8th place. We're just wondering how far Max Verstappen's going to go on this set of super soft tyres. You know, if he can really keep it together, he needs to keep it together quite a few more laps. If it's another sort of 7 or 8 laps, it is potentially possible that Red Bull could think about a one-stop race here. Now, that would really mix things up a little bit. We do know Verstappen can be pretty good at looking after his tyres. Oh, and off's gone Button. Is there any damage?
That looks like the front right is damaged. There's suspension damage there, definitely. You can see the whole front corner is skew whiff. So is that a failure, or is that through contact? We'll get a replay.
Something feels a bit wrong with the steering. Yeah, we got a failure, guys.
Oh, can you believe it?
No.
What a way to end what is his final race. It's a mechanical failure by the look of things.
Yeah, front right. That looks like the base of the upright looks like it's detached from the suspension, because you can see it's just tilted the wheel over, and that's what we call camber. And that is definitely not a good one. Right, let's just watch. Is it under braking?
Yeah.
No, you can see it's gone already. You can see the car was already starting to pull before he got on the brakes. And that is a mechanical failure. Just watch the front right. There you go. Bam. You saw the snap. That's lower wishbone that I think is detached from the upright.
Wow.
Let's just watch right. Front right. Watch the bottom edge of the wheel. There you go.
That is astonishing to see that. It's so rare to see a failure like that in Formula 1 nowadays.
Still made the corner though.
Yeah.
He's got to say it didn't affect his handling so much as he turned in, but disappointment there. Sylvia,
that really
helped
is
facilitate all our contact to the drivers, and the disappointment for him after the build-up and being clapped through his garage. And that's fantastic to see the crowd acknowledging Jenson's contribution, as we've got to assume this is the end of his Formula 1 career.
Well, he got a bit further than you did in your last race, David.
Yeah, I made 2 corners.
So at least that's something, but it is such a shame for it to end like that.
I don't think we've ever had a failure like this.
And he still manages to laugh about it. He's amazing, isn't he? Keeps his cool. His mum's there, ready to welcome him back. He's safe. That's all she cares about. And his Formula 1 career is over. Certainly from his point of view, he says that this is basically it. He has no intentions of returning to race in Formula 1. Listen to the crowd. Fabulous response for Jenson Button. And a very sad moment to see him out of the race so early on. But a man who has massive amount of respect throughout the world of motorsport. Neither he nor his engineer, Tom Sallard, can really believe what's just happened, because it's such an unusual failure. Well, we've still got a race going on, of course. Lewis Hamilton is still leading this Grand Prix from Max Verstappen and Nico Rosberg. Kimi Räikkönen in 4th place, Daniel Ricciardo in 5th, but there's the moment with his mum. There's plenty of family members here this weekend.
You've got Zach Brown watching on there in his new role. He's a racer, so he'll understand that disappointment.
Well, back to the front runners then, and Lewis Hamilton with a lead of 1.7 seconds over Max Verstappen. How long is Verstappen going on this set of tyres? That's the most fascinating part of this now, if he can make this a single stop race. So Hamilton leads, Verstappen in 2nd place, Rosberg in 3rd, Kimi Räikkönen's in 4th, Daniel Ricciardo's in 5th, and the top 6 completed by Sebastian Vettel, who's only 5.7 seconds off the leader. Emotional scenes down there in the McLaren garage. There'll be lots of hugs going on for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's all Jenson's friends and family. That's his PA Jules there.
I suppose it was always unlikely that he was going to be able to stun us with a podium finish in the final race, but it is still very sad to see him out so early. 3 drivers out early: Kevin Magnussen, Valtteri Bottas and Jenson Button. Unusual to see so many cars out early in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It's usually a race we see a lot of reliability. By the end of the season, the teams are on top of what's going on. But of course, there has been a little bit of contact, certainly in Magnussen's case. But in Bottas's case, it was strange.
Okay, Max, this is all we need at the moment. This is all we need. Excellent job. Just keep it clean.
Karan, what do you reckon? Do you think that Max Verstappen can try and do a one-stop race? How many laps do you think he needs to do on these super soft tyres if they're to achieve that?
He's got to go at least another 5. I mean, Pirelli's predictions was 39 laps, Ben. Some other people from teams said, you know what, if you can get 33, 34, you've done well. So, you know, he's 40 to go now. If he does another 5 laps, he'll be fine. I mean, the last lap of 46.7, the same lap time as Rosberg and a little bit quicker even than Ricciardo and Raikkonen. So that's really impressive. I want to quickly, Ben, remind you of what he did in Austria, 56 laps, one set of tires. What he did in Barcelona to win that Grand Prix, 1 pit stop less than Ricciardo. I mean, he is very, very good at tyre management. Lewis Hamilton, by the way, has bolted on the last lap a full 6/10 quicker than anybody else and faster than anyone has gone in this Grand Prix. So he's decided, you know what, I've had enough of backing up the pack. Max is there.
Yeah, and maybe it's because Mercedes, realising what Verstappen's doing, realise he could be a little bit of a threat in the end of the race.
I think I'm starting to lose the rear tyre a little bit.
Now, that's not what Red Bull want to hear. They want to hear, yeah, I think I can get a few more laps, but he's beginning to lose the rear tyres now, he says.
The key word was a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I wonder how long they can last. As a driver, David, how can he now try and look after those rear tyres?
Well, he's been doing everything to control the degradation of the tyres. We've got a Toro Rosso looking like it is on its way to retirement.
No, another one. This is turning into a race of retirements. And,
well, let's see where he decides. Well, he said, actually, only kidding. And when he finds someone else to park the car.
It's not a puncture. He had several punctures in practice. It certainly looks as though all 4 tyres are intact.
No, that's great. He's looked for the red mark, or the orange mark as it is on the Armco. That gives the marshals best chance to be able to push it back. Now, would that require a safety car? If people have to go trackside to recover a car, normally speaking, they may consider putting a virtual safety car, just neutralise the race, because you've got a fantastic job these marshals do. A number of British marshals actually here this weekend as well, supporting the locals.
See the double waved yellow flags to indicate to drivers they really have to back off.
Sure, no, that may be enough. Let's just see, yeah, you can see the car there. It's just a question of if anyone was exposed to the traffic. If there was a failure, that's exactly where we saw Jenson Button have that front suspension failure. So let's wait and see how quickly they can recover that car. Meanwhile, Rosberg on better tyres in terms of life, on the harder tyre in terms of the compound.
As Jenson Button makes his way up to do the obligatory interviews after dropping out of a race. Now, what was this? This was, looking back at what happened to him a little bit more.
Was it because, they suggest, yeah, there you go, the suspension broke as he went over the curb. So watch the front right. He's going to cut the orange sausage curb. Bang. See the suspension? There you go. So an unloaded wheel taking a curb strike is what has seen that particular item fail. And, well, I don't know whether that'll make it feel any better, the fact that it was partially where he positioned the car that led to the failure. You would expect normally to be able to run that curb like that. Exactly.
With the offloaded wheel, you wouldn't have thought that would have damaged it, but it did in this case.
Sliding these tyres.
A lot of overall sliding on these tyres. Perhaps the soft tyre not working as well as teams thought it would at this stage of the race. And certainly the super soft tyre, the Red Bull tyre that Max Verstappen's on, it seems to be working extremely well. He's now done 17 laps in the race, plus the 3 laps that he did in qualifying on that tyre. So he's now up to the sort of life that Pirelli predicted.
So is that Hamilton actually giving absolute feedback, or is that him just covering the bases and where he's managing the pace and the effect that's having on the cars behind? Because we've still only got 7 seconds covering first to 6th place. This is closer than we've seen a lot of races. And
on your bike, Danny Kvyat, and he is indeed finding his own way back to the pits.
Do you think he said, I'll return it, honest?
Well, it's great that he's found a way back. Karun.
Yeah, Ben, just thinking about those tyres, don't forget the soft tyre is a high temperature range tyre, and the track temp has now fallen to 28 degrees, so maybe that's just having a slight detrimental effect on the grip.
Yeah, good point. Meanwhile, Alonso lining up Grosjean. This is for position. It's for 10th place, and Romain Grosjean goes defensive, glass in his mirrors, but good run that from Fernando Alonso, and he's easily passed the Haas and moves up into 10th position. And by the way, Esteban Ocon's doing a good job behind, a little way behind them, although he hasn't made a pit stop yet, and he did start on the soft tyre, and he is currently running in 12th place in the Manor. Ericsson's in 13th. Palmer now has dropped down to 14th.
Okay, those tyre temps are called front and rear. That's where some of the sliding may come from. Just be careful, we're not going to grain them.
Yeah, so those temperatures are a little bit of a concern, as Karim was saying.
That's right. So confirming there, it all gets a bit technical, doesn't it, when we start talking about the working range of the tyres. You know, for most people, tyres are tyres are tyres, but such is the sensitivity of a Formula One car and the compounds that Pirelli bring. Largely speaking, the constructions across those compounds are the same, but the way that rubber interacts with the tarmac is absolutely crucial. So that information the engineer's giving the driver is basically telling him, well, look, don't, whatever you do, back out of putting heat into the tyre, because we're below the tyre temperature that would be ideal. And once you get in that situation, you can get graining of the rubber, and then you start building up the marbles that we see on the edge of the racetrack, and the whole car just slides around.
Let's just remind you, where Rosberg is right now is the minimum that he can get away with and still win this championship. Third place would be enough, but he can't afford to drop any more places than that, with Hamilton leading the race. And right now, Max Verstappen is on a different strategy from them and doing a fantastic job holding on to second place. But he is due a pit stop pretty soon, is Max Verstappen. He's got a great distance, though, and having got this far in the race, he should be able to make this a one-stop race and go all the way to the end on the soft tyres. Now, bearing in mind, he was last at the end of the first lap, and the fact that he's going to have to make another pit stop, that will drop him down the field, but then so does all the other guys around him. All these leaders will have to make another pit stop as well, and they'll be evenly matched from that point. It all comes down to what kind of lap times he will then be able to do on his set of soft tyres. He's getting another lap out of these, so this will help him even more, because it means it's even more into the territory the soft tyre should survive. Mind you, of course, Red Bull will be monitoring what's going on and seeing what else is going on. It's not a guarantee that he will go to the soft tyre if they decide that something else is working better here today.
Yeah, they'll be having a look at the gaps, and also if they try and get away with one stop and others have to stop again, where it will put him on the racetrack. Right now, if he was to come in, he'd come back out in 9th place behind Perez. He'd be behind Perez in front of Massa. So there's a nice 10-second window there.
They don't have any more super soft tyres to use for his car. Look at this. This is the support room back at Brackley in the UK. We don't often see this image, but those guys are all working for Mercedes, working on strategy, working on understanding the data from the cars, and that just gives you an idea of the backroom support that exists in Formula One nowadays.
Well, that's the key thing, isn't it? You've got around 80 personnel as we got the Red Bull here. Absolutely, Daniel Ricciardo in an opportunity down the inside. He's going to make it stick. Can he get round the corner? He's gone wide.
Ricciardo trying to get past Raikkonen, and he doesn't quite do it, and he's going to be under attack from Sebastian Vettel as a result of that now. Great attempt from Daniel Ricciardo, but in the end, Kimi Raikkonen was able to fend him off.
Brilliant, Raikkonen. He's really on form, isn't he? But Daniel now finds himself in a situation having committed to the pass. He's gone all in, and he'll have dirt and dust in his tyres, and he now has to defend against Vettel.
This is interesting, isn't it? Remember, Ricciardo pulled off that move on Vettel in Mexico, which then, of course, Vettel got penalised for when he moved under braking, and Ricciardo ended up getting the podium that Vettel thought he'd been handed.
So it's critical now that we start passing Verstappen. Yeah, it's getting a little bit more difficult for me at the moment.
Understood, Max.
But I think we should have worked quite quick.
No, so Verstappen's saying we should stay out a bit longer, and Mercedes won't want to hear that, because it's clearly costing Rosberg time now. You could tell from the radio communications there. So Rosberg has got to find a bit here. I wonder if he's got a bit of power unit turning up that he can do to help him. Karun, what do you reckon on Max Verstappen?
Well, Ben, one thing to keep in mind is they've got a lightly used set of scrubbed ultra soft tyres. Don't forget, they did that outlap in Q2. So if they need to bail out of a one-stop at the end and put a set of ultra softs on, they can.
Look at this. Rosberg's having a go at Verstappen down the inside. Oh, they almost touch, but Verstappen will not be beaten that easily. But Rosberg's had a great exit, and I don't think he's going to be able to do much this time. I reckon that Rosberg's been given the signal, turn it up, and he's used a bit more power unit, but Verstappen's not giving up. He surely can't go to the inside. There was no room there. Rosberg fends him off. These two have had some mighty battles this year. Remember Mexico, where Verstappen almost took him out at the first corner and then had another go at getting past him, but Rosberg has made the move stick, David, and that could have been an absolutely crucial manoeuvre for him to win the World Championship.
Well, it started slightly bizarrely with, you've got to say, Max leaving the door wide open as they would through the left-hander down in the braking zone into turn 8, and then he decided, okay, I'm going to close it down in turn 9. Rosberg, he must have had his heart in his mouth when it looked like there could be some contact, and then was able to just use more of the horsepower as he came off the turn. But great stuff.
Okay, so catch the back of Lewis. Good job, good job.
Catch the back of Lewis, that's simple, off you go. Go chasing after the race leader, your rival. Let's take another look at this, David.
Yeah, well, he was a long way back when he got on the brakes, but then Max very cleanly leaves the door open, but then decides, no, I'm going to try and hold this position. And there was not much distance between the two cars, but already at this point, you see Max is slightly offline, and it was always going to be a compromise. And at this stage, Rosberg, almost. So great control there from Rosberg, and then just able to exploit the acceleration, dump the battery, use all the horsepower, and he had DRS.
Great awareness by Verstappen, though, to be fair. He knew where he was. Rita Ora here, the singer and actress here supporting Lewis Hamilton. But is Lewis going to come through to take the title? He's certainly on target to win the race, but that's not enough at this point. Vettel right in behind Daniel Ricciardo once again. This group of Red Bulls and Ferraris fighting their way over third place.
Yeah, they've certainly got a little bit more damage now.
Okay, stay out for the minute, Max.
Got a little bit more damage on the tyres, presumably he means, but they are pushing it deep into this race. Definitely going for the one-stop strategy with Max Verstappen up against a two-stop strategy from everyone else around him, and that is going to be fascinating to see. Virtually everybody has made a pit stop so far. Just a couple of cars, Esteban Ocon and Marcus Ericsson running 12th and 13th. Like Verstappen has stayed out there, but they started on the soft tyre in the first place, so we would expect them still to be out there and maybe going on for a few more laps before they make a pit stop. Riding on board with Sebastian Vettel here, and seeing an awful lot of the rear light on the back of the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo. Just remind you that red light when it flashes, no, not a braking light, it's just an indicator that the electric power is finished. In comes Max Verstappen. So he's done a fantastic first stint. He's spun at the first corner. He's going to make this a one-stop race, and these tyres will now be going to the end. And 33 laps should definitely be within the range of these tyres. Pirelli saying you can do 39 laps on them.
Crucially as well, they're a brand new set, so you can go out and hit them, get plenty of temperature into them, try and keep himself out of that scenario that we heard Hamilton's engineer explaining, where the surface temperatures were a little bit on the cool side. Look at that, he's absolutely clean air that he's got ahead of him, so he can exploit the performance of those tyres, and absolutely on the cards to be able to make it one stop. And that is going to play into the strategy now of Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Vettel. They're all going to have to take that into account.
Yes, that's right, because there is a chance that Verstappen could get himself at least back into third place here on the one-stop strategy, so everyone else has got to think about that.
Yeah, what Hamilton really wants to do now is get that information from the team and start backing up into Rosberg, not wait for Rosberg to catch him. He wants to keep the pack as close as possible, and then, assuming that Rosberg has to pit again, that could really bring Verstappen into play. But if Hamilton keeps pulling away, then it doesn't work.
So, Nico, next 3 more laps are critical. Verstappen is going to the end.
So, that's great information from Tony Ross's engineer.
3 more laps, did he say? Did that indicate they're coming in?
Well, yeah, I suppose he said the next 3 laps are critical. So you'd think that they can stop from this point on, but you'd think they'd be wanting to go a little bit deeper. Chase Carey on the left there with Bernie Eccleston in the middle, the men who run Formula One. Chase Carey, of course, coming in with Liberty Media to take over the rights of the commercial operations of Formula One, but Bernie Eccleston still very much the man in charge at the moment. Nico Rosberg has set the fastest lap, so he's responded to that request from his team. He's picked up the pace a little bit. He's 4.7 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, so he's putting his foot down now and really trying to make a difference, because the team know they're under threat from Max Verstappen and his tactics. And this little group, well, they're fighting their positions for third at the moment.
Well, you've got Verstappen is now 29 seconds behind the race leader, about 22 seconds for a pit stop. We've got Rosberg at 5 seconds, say, behind Hamilton. So that only gives them a couple of seconds of window to Verstappen. So this is where, if Hamilton did want to use the other cars around him, which he has to do if he's going to win the championship, he has to actually back Rosberg up a bit quicker than he's doing. Well, he's not doing it at all right now. He's allowing Rosberg to come up to him, which is freeing him from any pressure from Verstappen.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well, let's see, there's nothing to choose between Raikkonen, Ricciardo and Sebastian Vettel here. And after that lunge that Daniel Ricciardo made, it's all kind of gone back to stalemate. Raikkonen seems to be able to just keep that few car lengths to the Red Bull. That straight line speed advantage that Ferrari have here is certainly helping them just a little bit more than at some of the other circuits. There's nothing wrong with the Ferrari power unit. It's the car chassis aerodynamics probably that have not been quite as strong as they might have been. And for the moment, Kimi Raikkonen making the most of the package, holding on to this third place. Can they get a podium finish to end the season? It's been a while since we've seen a Ferrari driver on the podium. It was Vettel. Well, we saw him on the podium in Mexico. He then got that taken away. So it was Italy was the last time that we had a Ferrari driver on the podium. That was several races ago now. So Rosberg still going quickly. Another quick lap there, 1:45.9. And he's doing exactly what the team are asking of him. And that means his gap to Lewis Hamilton's come down to 4.3 seconds. But Hamilton is not backing off. He's just set a personal best in the first sector. So Hamilton is definitely just driving his own race at this stage. And looking at Max Verstappen's times, they're right on target with the leaders right now, having switched onto those soft tyres. Max Verstappen did a 1:46.4 on that last lap, so right on target. Well, sadly, we saw just a little while ago in this race, Jenson Button retire from what is his last Formula One Grand Prix. He's talking to Lee Mackenzie.
Well, Jenson, in time-honoured fashion, let's start with the business. What was the problem out there today?
I don't know. I mean, I had a failure on the front right, and the thing is, for us as a team, that's one thing we pride ourselves on, and we don't have failures, and we have one today, and it's so unusual. But you know, it's unlucky. But to be fair, I don't really care. You know, I got you lot to myself now, so that's the positive. You got to take the positive, and it doesn't change anything with my feelings of my career and ending my career. And you know, I'm very content with what I've achieved, and I know tonight is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. It just means we can start earlier.
Abu Dhabi, watch out. Were you emotional at all when you got into the car? When did it sort of really hit you?
Yeah, really emotional. I mean, I was having my last massage from Mikey. I won't be working with Mikey next year. It's been a long career with him as well. So that was a bit emotional, and then he's like, oh, you have to be ready early. I was like, okay. So I walked downstairs, and the whole team and a lot of people from the paddock were sort of lined up from the hospitality to the garage, and yeah, I was very emotional. I was very happy I had my sunglasses with me, because yeah, it's not what you want really before the race, but it was awesome all the same, and I'm glad we had that moment before the race.
Well, Jenson Button, that's it, the last interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Daniel Ricciardo has made his second stop early, and he's going to be coming out behind his teammate, I think. Max Verstappen goes through. Yes, he's passed, and we haven't seen Ricciardo out yet. So there you are. Verstappen's tactics have worked amazingly well. And you remember, he was last on the opening lap, and yet he's ahead of his teammate. He qualified behind him as well. So that opening stint on the super soft tyres, absolutely fabulous by Max Verstappen.
Well, he now needs to see, certainly on a prediction from Pirelli, he can make it to the end. He will be in that window, though. As you start to lose tread depth, it becomes more difficult to maintain the temperature. So he may end up being a bit vulnerable later in the race. But if he can continue to manage it, then that's absolutely crucial. And, you know, clearly they didn't start the race expecting to be last at the end of the first lap, but that card was played, and the team have reacted.
Now, what Ricciardo's trying to do as well, of course, is undercut the Ferraris. I wonder if Ferraris are going to respond on this next lap. We just heard from Jenson Button talking to Lee, so sad to see him out. But Lee, what was the reaction like down there when he came to the pen to be interviewed?
Well, drivers often say they don't really like to do interviews, but we spend so much time with them. We do actually get to know them quite well, and when Jenson came into the interview pen, he got a huge round of applause, and he waved at everyone, took a little bow, and he will be in this interview pen for such a long time because everybody wants to talk to him. He has got such a rich history in Formula One, and it was a really sad moment, but hopefully we'll continue to see him throughout next year and maybe on television more as well.
Well, Kimi Raikkonen has now come into the pits. Ferrari are responding to Daniel Ricciardo. He's back on his way once again, desperate to stay in front of the Red Bull, but Ricciardo's been putting in a quick lap. So is it going to be enough for him? He's down through this unique pit exit.
Yeah, well, Verstappen, of course, has gone through. Let's see where Daniel Ricciardo is. He's just come out of turn one.
That's Verstappen, but where's Ricciardo? We need to be looking behind all this.
Let's see it, please.
And
Yep.
it's Ricciardo in front of Raikkonen. So that's worked for Red Bull. It's got them ahead of the Ferrari, and great tactics by Red Bull as long as they feel the tyres will go the distance.
Well, that's two things. It was the outlap from Daniel Ricciardo and the fresh tyres, but I've got to assume that Raikkonen got a little bit of traffic because he had, what, second and a half to play with over Daniel, and it looks like he's even further behind than that now.
Verstappen is fighting for position here with Sergio Perez. He's on this different strategy. He's down the inside, late on the brakes, but you never see a wheel lock up, do you? Although in qualifying yesterday, that was how he messed up. He locked up in both his qualifying runs at turn 11, the one he's coming down to now. But for the moment, Max Verstappen has moved up into 5th place. Let's get a word from Mark Webber, former Red Bull racer, of course. What do you think on what you've seen so far from their tactics, Mark?
Yeah, very aggressive as usual, and it's worked. I mean, they've got the high ground again over the two Ferraris. I think Sebastian also won't be able to react to that. So typically Ferrari being caught napping. They've got to be more aggressive with these undercuts, because now Daniel has escaped there, and Red Bull also know that these cars are generating the lap time in a different way. They're not that quick on the straights, but they're strong in the last sector, so they want some free air, which they've now given to both their drivers, and that will be very, very interesting towards the end of the race for sure.
One start, okay, what do you want me to go? One of them fed up, asking for what I should do, but I was in front, they just pushed me wide. Yep, understood, we saw it, we'll report.
A very unhappy Romain Grosjean there as we see the replay of the battle. I think that was with Carlos Sainz. Yeah, wasn't too impressed. Hulkenberg has come in for a pit stop. Force India, by the way, are guaranteed 4th in the Constructors' Championship now, with Williams having dropped out. Now, joining us from the pit wall, we've got Christian Horner, team principal of Red Bull Racing. Christian, great tactics. You heard Mark Webber, your former driver, being impressed by that. Things are going pretty well at this point, aren't they?
Yeah, it's that tire's worked well for Max to recover, to get him into 3rd place at the moment, effectively. But yeah, it's going to be exciting in that last part of the race. At the moment, Lewis is going a bit too quick.
Yeah, no, I can see that. It's Lewis is flying, but of course we've got to see what the gap between them is going to be like. Just watching there as Daniel Ricciardo also gets past Perez. The super soft tyre seemed to work brilliantly on Max Verstappen's car. Were you surprised at how deep he was able to go?
Yeah, he did a great job in making that stint work. Unfortunately, Daniel picked up a flat spot at the first turn and another one a little bit later on, but you can see he's making his way past the Force India now. And it's a straight race with Raikkonen on that tyre at the end of the race, and of course I guess they'll do something different with Vettel a bit later on.
These straights, you're a bit vulnerable on these straights, aren't you, Christian? You're giving up a little bit of straight line speed still.
Tell me about it. But you know, the guys are doing a great job at the moment. We make it up in the last sector, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting conclusion to the race. I think the problem is that theoretically our guys could have had an undercut if the Mercedes had been going slower. But they seem to be getting on with the job.
So do you think that Hamilton's made a mistake here by not slowing everybody up, from his point of view, I mean?
Well, you can see actually Max is starting to gain on them now. So, you know, if he'd have been a little bit slower for a few laps there, we'd have got track position on Nico, which is probably what he would have liked.
Interesting point. Thank you very much. Max Verstappen has just set fastest lap, but it's Sergio Perez who we see into the pits and back out. So Hulkenberg came in first of those two Force Indias. But as I mentioned, with Bottas having fallen out of this race, it means Williams cannot beat Force India in the Constructors' Championship. Now, we believe that Hamilton's coming in.
So box, 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 box.
Indeed he is. So Hamilton will be coming in at the end of the lap, and you can see how Rosberg has managed to close that gap to Lewis Hamilton, but again, advantage goes to the leader. He gets the first of the pit stops, and that will definitely give him a little bit of an edge for the moment. So Nico Rosberg's been talking to his race engineer, asking how his race is going. His race engineer said P2 is safe at the moment, and Nico's come back to say that's good to know. He's focused on what he's got to do, which is to finish either second or third. And right now, as we heard from Christian Horner, he's in position to do that. Hamilton comes in, and this will be for his second and final stop here at Abu Dhabi. He's doing everything he can, although as we heard from Christian Horner, maybe he could have tried a more tactical game of slowing the cars down more, but he's just racing for victory, and that was another perfectly executed pit stop by the Mercedes crew. They need to do one more of those for Nico Rosberg, and then they can sit back and relax and wait for the race to unravel in the remaining part.
Box, box, box.
A very clear instruction I don't think Nico Rosberg's going to miss that one. He's coming in at the end of the lap.
Well, this is going to be interesting. Hamilton should maintain track position on Rosberg when he's made his stop. Daniel Ricciardo going very quickly in the Red Bull 45.0, fastest lap of the Grand Prix. But Hamilton did say that he wasn't going to play any games. He just wants to win Grand Prix and show that in his mind he is the stronger of the two drivers. And well, that's the brave decision. I absolutely want to win a fourth title decision is to let Rosberg get onto his gearbox and hold him up in places where he's not vulnerable to being overtaken, and to see if that brings some of the other cars into play. That's the only way he can win this championship, unless Rosberg has a reliability issue, which, you know, how can you can't influence that.
No, it could happen, of course. Reliability has hurt him in the past here in Abu Dhabi. The year that the last time they fought it out for the championship in this final round was 2014, and Rosberg was running second. He needed more than that, but ultimately he had an ERS failure on the car and wasn't able to even challenge in the second stages of the race. He's going quickly at the moment, though, as he needs to do on a lap where he's coming into the pits. He's just set the fastest first sector time of anybody. Watch for him to peel off. Now this needs to be clinical, precise and accurate. No mistakes required from Nico Rosberg, and that's where he's been so solid this year, making so few mistakes despite being under immense pressure so many times. Brings the car to a halt, and again it looks perfect as they set off once more. They can relax now unless there's a problem with the car, in which case, of course, usually it's very difficult to do anything, but generally those guys can now relax and let this race play out. It was a 2.3 second stop, and that's bang on the pace.
Yeah, nice and steady as he goes through the underpass, which is the pit lane. I remember when they designed this track, they got all excited about the fact it was going to have an underpass, and when it was pointed out that it's not particularly good for the viewing spectators, a car underground, they were like, okay. Meanwhile, Ricciardo once again lowering the fastest lap of the Grand Prix to a 44.8.
Yes, the other prediction with that pit lane exit was that we'd get lots of crashes in the tunnel, but nobody ever has, have they?
No, and if they did, they would have to red flag the race because there's no way of recovering the car.
Karun.
Yeah, Ben, Simon Rennie's just been on the radio to Daniel Ricciardo, telling him Max is going to go to the end of the Grand Prix, so basically you're going to have to overtake him on track if you want to get ahead. So I think that's why we're seeing a bit of a push from Daniel Ricciardo, 2 fastest laps in a row over the last 2 laps. Yeah,
and he's close to within 2.4 seconds of his teammate. So we could see a good rivalry between the two Red Bull guys at the end of this Grand Prix. And of course, it's always an important one to be in front of your teammate in the last race, because you can carry that through the winter, can't you, David?
There is never a bad moment to be in front of your teammate. Every session of every lap that you do, you know, you can, of course, put greater importance, quite understandably, on qualifying on the race. But every time they take to the track in winter testing, they're just competitive people. You know, who gets into the debrief first and who gets in the first queue for the lunch within the team hospitality. It's all part of the psychological games.
It all counts. Well, let's keep an eye on Ferrari's progress as well at the moment, because, of course, we know that Ricciardo has managed to undercut in this race. Paris Hilton, another visitor here this weekend. The celebrity is coming along to watch, and she's obviously a supporter at Ferrari here. And as I mentioned, Ricciardo running in 5th place means that Raikkonen is in 6th place. Sebastian Vettel, though, hasn't made a second pit stop yet, so Vettel is currently the race leader. He is some 8 seconds in front of the Mercedes duo, and Rosberg has had a good lap here, a good outlap, certainly keeping in touch with Hamilton. So there's Vettel in the front of shot, due a pit stop at some point soon. I don't think there's anything particularly clever he can do strategy-wise to ensure a really top result here today. Look how close Rosberg is to Hamilton, however.
Yep, this is the point for Hamilton. If he wants to try and bring someone into play, this is what he needs to be doing. And he'll also have in his mind, you know, there's no need for Rosberg to take a lunge. You know, brave stuff, and great to see what he did with Verstappen down into the braking in turn 8. But does he really need to do that with Hamilton? You could argue that Rosberg's mindset would be, well, have a go out in style, win this championship by winning the race. And if it goes wrong, because you know, Hamilton closes down the door, then it still has the same outcome for him. So I think we're getting into a real fascinating part of the race, and let's try and put ourselves in the cockpit of what Hamilton's thinking, glancing in his mirrors, feeling his car. You know, a racing car evolves during a Grand Prix, so you know the balance changes as you go through the race, and at various phases it's maybe less to your liking, and then there's sweet spots of the Grand Prix where it really talks to you and you just feel invincible. So he'll be trying to play with that whilst keeping an eye on the mirrors, and Rosberg will be going, right, this is my World Championship if I just stay here.
Good lap by Rosberg, and in series a couple of good laps there, so definitely faster than Hamilton. So whether Hamilton, I don't think he's backing off that much, because it was still a personal best time by Lewis Hamilton. It's simply that Rosberg was a little bit faster. The two of them still chasing after Sebastian Vettel, who's due another pit stop any time now. Behind them, it's still Verstappen, and Verstappen's only 4 seconds behind and lapping at about the same pace. And then Ricciardo, who of the group is still the fastest. Ricciardo's got the gap to his teammate down to 1.5 seconds now.
Question, just wondering why you're so slow. Currently unsafe to Vettel.
Might be wise to slow. There you go. There's the message. A wise man who's wanting to play a winning strategy. He needs Rosberg to be under pressure from behind.
So yeah, interesting comment there.
I didn't quite, did you catch what they said about Vettel? The gap to Vettel is comfortable. 8 seconds is the lead that Vettel has, so we know it's about 22 seconds for a pit stop. He's going to be out behind Raikkonen, who's currently running in 6th, 20 seconds behind Vettel.
Okay, well, we think that Vettel might well be going as long as he can in this race, to then put some ultra soft tyres perhaps on at the end. I suppose that is a possibility, but he's still going to have a longish pit stop, so it's really about the battle for third, you would think, that Sebastian Vettel is chasing down.
No, just looking at the lap times, Verstappen and Ricciardo, 45.3, 45.0. Well, that's second and a bit quicker than Mercedes are going, so I think just absolute confirmation that Hamilton is just comfortably slowing the pace. Let's see what the gap is this time.
Well, as Verstappen crossed the line, he did about the same lap time as Hamilton, so didn't get any closer, but also no further away. So what is Hamilton up to here? Is he trying to just slow things down a little bit to make life more tricky for Nico Rosberg, who has closed up to within 1.2 seconds? Any closer than that and he'll be in DRS range, of course, and that will really help him move up onto the tail of Lewis Hamilton.
How's this pace? And we'd be happy with 45.3.
45.3 is exactly what he did on that last lap, so he's doing exactly what he's being asked of him. Mark, what do you reckon's going on here?
Well, a very interesting radio chat at the moment. I think that Mercedes have given a message to obviously Lewis to warn him about the Vettel situation, finishing on a different compound and come through the back end of the Grand Prix very, very quick. Vettel will have lost track position and have to clear some people, which won't be straightforward. But I think it's a subtle way to say, look, close the race out, as we see JB doing the old cruise down the back of the paddock here, which is great to see, a great vision for him and deserves it all. But I think the Lewis situation now is I think he had a thought of backing people up, and now they're trying to respond with, actually, he might not even win the race, mate. So even, I don't know how much truth's in that, but Lewis doesn't know all of the jigsaw of this, so it's quite interesting how... And if Nico gets a bit of DRS here, then it's going to be quite interesting. And also, just quickly, there's no more stops in play here. Lewis knows that. There's no more stops, there's no more undercuts, there's nothing. Everything he's got in front of him behind is actually fair, apart from Sebastian.
Yeah, I think that's all good stuff, Mark. One thing that Hamilton, if he's going to lose his title, he'll want to win the race. You know, he surely is not going to risk giving Rosberg the opportunity to sneak it down the inside somewhere.
Well, he's still doing exactly what he's been asked of. A 1:45.3 they asked for. A 1:45.3 is what he gave them the last 2 laps. Look at that consistency. He has that amazing racing driver ability to just kind of deliver exactly what the team asked within 1/10 of a second.
Well, my speciality was delivering them compromised slow laps. It was when they said go faster that it all got a bit difficult, but this is well within his comfort zone. Then he'll come out there, collect a gear, glance in the mirrors, just judge the gap to the car behind. And you see the Ferrari dancing there over the... There's a slight kink actually on the back straight. You don't really see it so much, but you can see there just the coloured lines painted on the tarmac and just reposition the car.
Well, certainly Vettel, who's done 25 laps on the set of soft tyres at the moment, certainly should be able to get another 5 laps out of them I would think, and that would put him very much into territory to run the ultra-soft tyre at the end. And if Ferrari reckon that's the way to go, it'd be interesting to watch him come through, because that's what he'll have to do. He'll have to do some overtaking if he's going to have any chance of scoring a podium finish. Vettel leads, but in real terms, it's Hamilton who's in a controlling position right now, and Rosberg's exactly where he needs to be, which is shadowing his teammate. Best of the rest, behind them is Verstappen, with Ricciardo and Raikkonen chasing, and all still that lead group, all pretty close. Let's just bear in mind that Alonso's in 7th place. Good effort from Alonso. 8th place for Hülkenberg, 9th for Perez, and right now Felipe Massa's hanging on for the final point in his last Grand Prix. Karun.
Yeah, I've managed to find someone at Mercedes to ask about that team radio to Lewis Hamilton about Sebastian Vettel, and what they're saying is it's about the safety car. So in case there's a safety car window, if Vettel gets in, it would have been a bit marginal for him to pit and come back out. That's what they were concerned about.
Thank you, Karun. Good information. This is Hülkenberg just passing Alonso and gaining 7th place. So having said that Alonso was going well in 7th, well, he's just lost that, but he is in 8th place. And for McLaren, it might not be for much longer, because he's now got the other Force India of Perez behind him.
Yeah, well, I don't wish any ill on Alonso, but with him being between the two Force Indias, it kind of spoils the Noah's Ark of 2 Mercedes, 2 Red Bulls, a couple of Force Indias running around in formation.
He's only made the 1 pit stop so far, has Fernando Alonso, so he is due another stop. He started the race on the ultra-soft tyre.
So currently in P2, so need more management, turn 2, less in 3.
So giving him straightforward information, Lewis Hamilton, as he works out what's going on around him.
Yeah, Perez getting himself in position here, much shallower line into the hairpin onto the back straight. Difficult to imagine that Fernando will be able to do much against the DRS Mercedes-powered Force India.
Yeah, it's only done 7 laps on this set of tyres as opposed to 27 laps for Alonso. And Perez has to go to the outside, but I think he's going to be carrying so much more speed that it's not a problem. He'll turn in here. Yeah, there's no car there. You kind of wonder when you see that onboard shot, is there still a nose cone or a front wing alongside? But it was a clear pass, and that brings Perez up into 8th place now. So the 2 Force Indias are looking at a very solid double point score to finish off the season. They've done that a few times here in Abu Dhabi. It's always been a good circuit for them, and they are on for their best ever season in Formula One in terms of result, to finish in 4th in the Constructors' Championship. They've never achieved that as Force India in the past, but they're well on target. In fact, they've already done it with one of the Williams cars out of this race. So Nico just coming on the radio saying the pace is pretty slow again.
Okay, these tires are really starting to go down now.
Yeah, we're expecting Vettel in soon. Is that the signal to the team to get ready for him to come in and make a pit stop and switch to the ultra soft tyres, which is what we think he's going to be doing? It just depends what Ferrari reckon they can get in terms of tyre life. Daniel Ricciardo's going quickly again. He is still 1.4 seconds behind his teammate, Max Verstappen. So Vettel, due a pit stop. There's Hamilton and Rosberg. No difference really in the gap between them. It's around that DRS range, not quite there in terms of being able to use the DRS. Just seeing Pascal Wehrlein go through the shot. He's all the way down in 18th place though, so he's right down at the back and due to be lapped by Sebastian Vettel. Just ahead of him was Carlos Sainz. Toro Rosso really having a very difficult weekend after suffering punctures on the practice days, and then that meant they couldn't do the track running they should have done, weren't able to prepare the cars properly, and perhaps even compromise the performance of the cars to make sure it was safe and avoid getting any punctures, and it's meant that Sainz is way down at the back, and of course we lost the other Toro Rosso earlier on in this race. 4 retirements in this Grand Prix so far. They are Danny Kvyat, Jenson Button, Valtteri Bottas and Kevin Magnussen, but 18 cars are still running. Palmer has dropped down to 16th place now, so it doesn't look as though he's going to be in a position to score points here. Just outside the points are the 2 Haas cars of Grosjean and Gutierrez. Grosjean, the best place, he's some 9 seconds behind Felipe Massa, so if anybody in the top 10 has a problem right now, it'll be the Frenchman who would benefit from that. Back to the lead group then, and Hamilton getting a bit closer to Vettel, so they are closing that gap down now. Vettel is struggling for pace as he gets ready for a pit stop soon, and Rosberg just being kept at arm's length.
Yeah, Vettel, they're obviously trying to take it as late as they can to give him as many laps on a racy tyre, because right now he's going to come out several seconds behind his teammate, and yeah, he's going to come out, to my calculation, about 6 seconds behind Raikkonen. So it's all fine and well being on a faster tyre, but you've got to use up a lot of the newness and energy catching.
You need to get me before they catch me. It's all under control.
Well, he's getting panicky because it's his teammate who's catching him. So we're back to that teammate thing again. Ericsson being caught by Nasser. Karun, what have you got for us?
Yeah, just had a look at what tyres everyone's got remaining for the Grand Prix, and Vettel has a brand new set of super soft tyres that he hasn't used. Now, in these cooler conditions, that could be pretty handy. It could gain a second, maybe even a second and a half a lap, guys, towards the end, because, you know, don't forget the likes of Ricciardo and Raikkonen, they've already done 11 or 12 laps on their tyres.
Yeah, good point. And looking at what Verstappen did on a set of super softs at the beginning of this race, you'd think that that would be Ferrari's favoured choice over the ultra soft. So a new set of super softs available for Vettel, that could well be the tyre he goes for. Bit of debris out there, bit of front wing. Not sure where that's come from.
Spot the wing, no colour there to give us an indication.
Let's see. Now this was Nasser under pressure from Ocon. Ocon tried to go around the outside of him. There was the contact. Oh, and there was the damage to the Sauber. It's got blue on it. Well, it could have been either, actually. They've both got blue on, haven't they?
Well, interesting, as you see there, Vettel heads to the pits.
So which tyre is he on? I think he was on the super soft tyre. Just caught a glimpse.
Yeah.
And Ocon rejoins as well after the repairs to his car. We wait for Vettel to appear. So where is he going to come back out? Well, he's going to be well behind Raikkonen.
Yeah. Well, before that lap, to my calculation, he was been about 6 seconds behind Raikkonen. So he's going to have to use the performance from those tyres, and I guess you can turn the engine up as well and risk running it closer to the limit. You know, you're not going to use this engine for anything else, so why not? Is he going to be happy with finishing in 6th place? I suspect Ferrari, you know, as you take the risk now of just running that engine closer to the limit, you've got to do something to give the Ferrari fans around the world a bit of excitement going into the winter.
Well, Vettel has a real chance here on those tyres of closing up to not just Raikkonen but to these two Red Bulls, and of course the two Red Bulls are fighting one another, so they might slow each other down a touch in the closing stages, so they need to be wary of the threat from Sebastian Vettel here, and we'll be watching his lap times very closely indeed.
Interesting, there's only 3 laps older, the tyres that are on board Daniel, but he's got the pace on Max right now.
Yeah, that's right. He seems to be more comfortable on the soft tyre. Max did that great opening stint on the super soft. It's funny how the different tyre sometimes suits a different driver within the same team.
Yeah, well, from Red Bull's point of view, because there's a lot that can happen in this Grand Prix. If they feel that Daniel is the quicker car at this phase, then I suspect they would ask Max not to get in the way, release Daniel and see if he can actually continue that pace up the road, you know, rather than slowing both the cars down and making them maybe vulnerable to Vettel, as you say, if he comes back in later in the race.
Brief saw a yellow flag, but that's been withdrawn, so I expect somebody just ran a touch wide somewhere. Big runoff areas on most of these corners. There are 1 or 2 corners that can really grab you in, though, into the barrier. Not a lot of space. This opening section of the track is nice and flowing, and that's where we see them in a great shot, looking down at the hairpin. There's packed grandstands on the outside of that corner, still waiting to find out who is going to be world champion of 2016. Right now, Rosberg is doing everything he needs to do that. Ericsson defending from Jolyon Palmer. Palmer takes the Renault down the inside of the Sauber, with Carlos Sainz trying to join in the game as well in the Toro Rosso. A 3-way fight this for 13th place, and it's not over yet because Sainz has gone round the outside of the Sauber and he snatches the place as well.
Yeah, the Sauber will get the benefit of the tow and DRS as well, so is he brave enough on the brakes? No, he doesn't fancy that battle. But, you know, Toro Rosso there able to use the opportunity of the battle. Palmer able to show his racing instincts, and you know, he's had a fairly solid end to the season, which bodes well for next year. He'll be hoping for a much more competitive car from the Works Renault team.
The leaders, Hamilton and Rosberg, are coming up to lap this little group as Palmer now in 13th place behind Gutierrez and Grosjean. Grosjean's just been into the pits, by the way, and come back out, so that will put him actually pretty close with his teammate Gutierrez, which will be interesting. Karun.
I can tell you, Sebastian Vettel on his out lap and the first time one he's on, he's gained nearly 3 seconds on Kimi Raikkonen in front, so he's a man on the charge.
Well, okay, this is going to make the race very interesting in the closing stages, because Sebastian Vettel, who's had such a tough season, is definitely on the right tyre to finish the Grand Prix on. Everyone else is staying out there, we expect, on their soft tyres to the end. and it's just a question of how far up the road Vettel can get. And in a way, no one is quite safe from him because he's only 16 seconds behind the race leader, so nobody can afford a pit stop and still come out in front of him of this lead group.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it, to see how we're keeping everyone relatively bunched up, and Vettel, the man on the move, full second and 8/10 quicker than the race leader Hamilton, just casually making an adjustment on his steering wheel.
Well, Mercedes were aware of the threat from Vettel.
You could hear the lift and coast there when he came off the throttle before he picked up the brake. Just not using all the fuel that you would need to there.
So, for the moment, Lewis Hamilton is leading this Grand Prix, just 1.1 seconds ahead of Nico Rosberg. Rosberg doing enough to win the World Championship. Currently in third place is Max Verstappen, despite being last on the first lap. But the man to keep an eye on is Sebastian Vettel, who's now fastest on track with a fresh set of tyres, and he's currently running around in 6th place and closing up to his teammate. And actually, he may well have a chance of passing his teammate on this next lap, because he has got right up behind him as they've come into the more twisty section. Lewis just a little bit further up the road, and Vettel will be going on the attack. Might have to wait until they get to the straight before he can pass. And Hamilton, he's focused on getting his way through the back markers here. That's what he's worried about. Sainz and Palmer are the two cars just up ahead of him as he goes on to his 41st lap out of 55, and the 2016 season counts down towards the checkered flag.
Well, as he gets this traffic ahead, we've got Rosberg 0.9 of a second behind Hamilton, so he's right in the DRS activation zone. And, well, will this car get out of the way? It does indeed. Toro Rosso, Sainz, with Palmer ahead, so that now means that Rosberg will have Sainz in the way, so that just gives Hamilton a bit of a breather. He'll pick up the DRS from the back of the Renault. You see he's sliding the Mercedes there, so certainly not holding anything back through the hairpin.
I tell you that Rosberg is in DRS range behind him as well. He was just, I think, when they came onto the straight, but the gap staying at around that 1 second mark. Vettel was a 1.3 seconds faster than the race leader, and here you go, look in the background. Vettel, I'm sure, is going to have a go at getting past Kimi Raikkonen here on his fresher tyres. Raikkonen, of course, out-qualified him, but Vettel goes through so easily. He can brake so much later on those tyres. Right, that's 1 place gained. Vettel into 5th place. Just how far is he going to go in this race?
Well, next man up the road is Daniel Ricciardo. Gap was just under 8 seconds between Raikkonen and Ricciardo. So Kimi there picking up the slipstream, but hasn't lost too much time in letting Vettel go off and play with those new tyres.
I expect he had the word from Ferrari that it wouldn't be good to block him, and you could see how much sliding is going on with Raikkonen's car. Karun.
Yeah, you know I love my numbers, Ben. I've done a little bit of math. Vettel now 7.5 seconds behind Ricciardo. He is now equal on points with Max Verstappen with that move. Verstappen, of course, will finish ahead in the World Championship, having won in Barcelona. But, you know, for a guy who missed the first 4 races from that car as a top-line team, to be equal on points and therefore ahead, you see that graphic there, that's really impressive for Max Verstappen, but a bit of extra motivation for Sebastian Vettel, perhaps.
You need to give me the times of other cars, please.
Hamilton wants to know what else is going on around him and see if there's anything else he can help to influence. Meanwhile, Verstappen's now trying to lap Sainz and Palmer, who are going side by side. Sainz took full advantage of Palmer there, I think, getting ready to let the Red Bull through, and that was cheeky stuff from Carlos Sainz, but it's all fair. And now Verstappen's going to try and pass both of them. Ricciardo's not too far behind, and in the background you can see Sebastian Vettel is catching as well. So Verstappen dives down the inside of both these two, and Ricciardo ran a bit deep.
Yeah, he did. He went wide there. So, for whatever reason, we saw Daniel was onto the gearbox of Max, and now Max has got the hurry up and managed to open out the gap, get a bit of a breather, but he's going to be under pressure from the Toro Rosso that decides to back out of it in the braking zone.
Yeah, using a bit of a toe to try and draw away from Jolyon Palmer as those two fight over 13th position currently, but joined now by Ricciardo. So Ricciardo trying to lap the two, and they do get out of the way, and they can kind of get on with their own race. Rosberg still close to the back of Lewis Hamilton. but Hamilton...
Oh, there's been contact there, hasn't there, between the Renault and the Toro Rosso.
Palmer and Sainz have come to contact, and we'll have to take another look to see what happened. Sainz was in front of Palmer the last time we saw it, so we'll have to have another look at that. But definitely Raikkonen's car moving around a lot now on these tyres, which have done quite a few laps. Into the pits comes Jolyon Palmer, and a big slide for Carlos Sainz. Looks like they may both have damage on their cars.
No, meanwhile, Vettel getting through the traffic well and continuing to put the pressure. Took well over 1.5 seconds out of Daniel Ricciardo ahead.
Yeah, you can see on the graphic at the bottom there how Vettel is going faster than Hamilton. Let's see what happened here then. So we saw when Ricciardo got past Sainz, and then what happened here between Palmer? Oh, he looked up and ran into the back of Carlos Sainz.
Okay, well, quite clear where any blame lies there. If you rear end, no different than in a road car. Lucky to not get away with even more front wing damage. Debris goes wide, so you're going to see what it's like to be given a nudge by a Renault.
Nothing that Sainz could do about that. Palmer tucked into his slipstream, lost front downforce here. Look how close he was behind.
Yeah, they're both of them doing the right thing, getting out of the way of the traffic, but as he's braking, he just doesn't have the downforce on that car, and plus he's in the slipstream of the car ahead, which is stealing downforce from his front wing, and a little bit clumsy there from Jolyon.
Well, it's under investigation, and I would imagine there may well be a penalty. Not that it will have much effect, because neither of these guys look as though they're going to be finishing in the points here today, but it's turning into
Carlos, it sounds like an issue with the gearbox. Failure neutral, false neutral. So he's between gears. You can see the graphic displayed. He's got it into 6th gear, 5th gear. He's pulling the paddle, nothing happening.
Yeah, gearbox not working.
Well, getting a bash from Palmer's car, not helping at all, and it looks like he's going to be joining that list of retirements pretty soon. It means both Toro Rossos will be out of the Grand Prix.
And it's been a tough weekend for them, all sorts of issues, and can he find a place to... Well, he's found drive in 1st gear, but 2nd gear isn't working, so there you go, he's going to drive it back in 1st. Now, you see Rosberg there, within a second or so of Hamilton. They've got clear air ahead of them now, no more traffic to really play with.
Yeah, my gearbox is not working, I have to retire.
So yeah, we've seen the problems with Sainz. Meanwhile, we'll keep an eye on Vettel, because Vettel is getting closer to Ricciardo now. He was another fastest lap of the race for Sebastian Vettel last time around, massively faster than this lead group, but it means he's now got to within 3 seconds, or even less now, of Daniel Ricciardo. In fact, yeah, the gap is under 3 seconds. Danny Kvyat, well, he was out early on in this race, but now watching to see that his teammate has also joined him in retirement. So a sad way to end for that team. They will be switching engines next year. They'll be going from the year-old Ferrari engine that they've been running this year. They'll be back to Renault for 2017.
Okay, Lewis really need to pick up the pace. Need high 44s. Vettel, imminent threat.
Yeah, so they reckon that Vettel is still on target to actually win this race. Now, if Rosberg would have dropped behind Vettel, he would survive that in terms of the World Championship. He can afford to finish 3rd. So if Vettel caught Rosberg and Vettel was being particularly aggressive, he could afford to let him through. But Mercedes do not want to lose the race victory here. Karun.
Yeah, Ben, I mean, that's an interesting call. I'd like to see how Lewis responds, because he wants Vettel to catch Rosberg, doesn't he? And then maybe get in front, and then at that stage, you know, Lewis could try and bolt off. It's a lot of cat and mouse going on there.
Yeah,
he needs more than one, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Imminent threat. Well, you know, I don't know about you, but if I got someone give me a call and say there's an imminent threat, I'd be pretty nervous for that information. So, yes, I think it's, you know, there's pressure on the team, obviously, to deliver the 1-2. And it's conflicting with that desire of the 2 drivers. You know, Hamilton, yes, he wants to win the Grand Prix, but he doesn't want to relinquish his world title to his teammate. So, yeah, it'd be great to, you know, penny for his thoughts, to know exactly what he was thinking with that information.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt Verstappen's getting a bit closer as well. So maybe Hamilton is driving very tactically now. Last lap, a 46.2, certainly not that quick. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think what's interesting, the next phase of this race now is that look at this battle now, that Sebastian would love to have Daniel just like this, on his own. He wants to isolate him off the back of Verstappen, because if Daniel has DRS on the back of Verstappen, it's a bit harder to clear, so that's a huge bonus also for Sebastian. These traction areas, there's a 5-second penalty which for Jolien for his incident there, but so Seb will be very happy off the traction events out of 5 and 10 and 11 that he can isolate Daniel, try and clear the 2 Red Bulls on their own. Verstappen will be a bit more tricky maybe, and then we've got the interesting dynamic of the front with the 2 Mercs.
Yeah, this is great stuff. So Vettel is now, as you say, almost on terms with Daniel Ricciardo. He needs to try and do this fairly quickly, get past these cars. We've still got 10 laps to go, so there's time for him to get past the Red Bulls and then still close up and potentially take victory. But what is going to happen? We are going to enjoy this. Hamilton leads, Rosberg is in 2nd place, Verstappen currently 3rd, Ricciardo 4th, but for how much longer? 5th place for Sebastian Vettel, and in 6th place is Kimi Räikkönen.
Well, just before it starts getting really meaty in these closing laps, we have this slightly bizarre scenario where, we know that if Rosberg finishes in that position, he has effectively won the World Championship pending any penalties and appeals. But we don't really get to celebrate it here. He doesn't really get to celebrate here, because one of the quirks of the FIA and Mr. Eccleston particularly is that they consider the handing over of the trophy at the FIA Gala, which this year's in Vienna, as Vettel thinking about it.
Yeah, had a little think, and Ricciardo, fair play, blocked the middle of the road, but it has forced him deep. I think Vettel might be quick out of the chicane here, and this could be a fairly straightforward pass. Ricciardo will keep to the inside. The Ferrari straight line speed advantage will count. I'm not sure. Oh, my goodness, that was aggressive from Vettel. Wow. I don't think Ricciardo would have liked that too much, but Vettel judged it just about right. He swiped across the front of Daniel Ricciardo's car. It was unnecessary, but he was determined not to let him back down on the inside. And Vettel looks massively fired up to deliver a result for Ferrari here this evening. He has got himself into 4th position. Just take a look at this again, David.
Well, this was fantastic stuff here. Great aggressive use of the extra grip. You can see that suddenly there when the DRS opens up, just the overspeed that comes. And look at that. He cuts back through the sparks and gets a better position down into the braking zone at turn 11.
Well, meanwhile, Nico's been on the radio asking if the team would let him pass Lewis so that he can be clear.
Okay, Lewis, this is an instruction. We need 45-1 for the win.
I suggest you guys let us race.
I suggest you guys just let us race. So Hamilton's taking this into his own hands. The team knew this might happen. Toto Wolff said yesterday, when it comes down to winning the World Championship, we can give them guidance, but ultimately each of them is out there to race. Nico wanting to be let by and then saying he would let Lewis back past again to make sure they get the victory. But Nico's definitely getting a bit nervous now in this situation, and Hamilton has definitely backed them all up a little bit. So this is absolutely fascinating to see what's going on. And there's a champion from 2 wheels, Jorge Lorenzo, talking to a champion with the tennis racket in his hand. 2 great sporting stars, hopefully engaged as well in this tremendous tussle between 2 great drivers.
Okay, Dale. So let's stick with him. He will catch Max and the 2 Mercedes at this rate as well, so there's still a bit of meat to be had.
Yeah, there is, because the way that Vettel's going, he may drag Verstappen up to join these guys, and this is really now Hamilton working to see how he can still win this championship. He has not given up hope yet. Rosberg's in the right place, but Vettel is the joker in the pack right now, because the pace that Vettel has on these super soft tyres is really making a difference to everyone around him, and he is gradually closing up on Verstappen. You can just see him in the background there. We've still got just over 7 laps to go in this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Mark, what do you reckon?
Absolutely fascinating. Obviously, the team dynamic on the radio there, a lot of tension, mate. That's a clear order, absolute clear order to do a lap time, and Lewis said, actually, boys, you know what? Mind your own business. I'm going to do what I'm doing. He's going to bring a Red Bull into play here, potentially with a bit of DRS, and Verstappen is also, Vettel is very, very quick, as we know. But, you know, Nico's in it. He's frustrated because the pace they're doing, I cannot stress how slow the 2 Mercedes drivers are driving. So we're watching this on TV, but these guys are going very, very slow off the back of Lewis's tactics here.
Well, Lewis is doing everything he can to win this championship. That's what matters to him, and you can't blame him. There's a chance of being a 4-time world champion. He is going to do whatever it takes, as long as he doesn't actually crash into his teammate. He wouldn't want to do that, because if they both crash, it would actually favour Rosberg, let's not forget.
Try and push up to Rosberg's DRS. Keep pushing, mate.
So Max Verstappen, I think, is giving it his all, but this is building up to a wonderful, wonderful climax here in Abu Dhabi. Which way is the World Championship going to go? Verstappen is just beginning to set some really quick lap times, so maybe he's been looking after those tyres for a while, being patient, and now he's still got some performance there.
Yeah, well, you don't need a stopwatch to see the gap to Rosberg ahead. He's got clear air to him. Rosberg running in the dirty air. There's Max's mother and sister there, watch on. She was an accomplished racer herself in karting.
That's right, yeah, very rapid kart racer. And now watching, like all of us, to see what happens, because if Verstappen's got this kind of pace, he was quicker than Rosberg on that last lap, then it makes all the difference, because if both Verstappen and Vettel get between Hamilton and Rosberg, then Hamilton wins the championship and Rosberg fails. Mark.
You know, the last card, boys, the last card is this. Lewis keeps backing up. Hamilton can get hit by Rosberg. Rosberg can take him out, if that's a tactic. So it's Rosberg has also a bit of a card in his top pocket here too. They don't have to both finish this race.
That's right, and if they both fail to finish, then Rosberg is champion, because he's already ahead in the points, of course. So that is a tactic. It's something that Mercedes might not be too impressed to see, but as I say, it looks like it's gloves off right now. Look how close Vettel is to the back of Max Verstappen. He's closed that gap down, and he's now going on the attack. And we've seen these two race hard. Let's remember what happened in Brazil.
Well, he's got to go for it now into turn 11.
He's certainly...
How brave can he be?
He's going to have
the overspeed.
Look. Yeah, he's much, much quicker, but he's not there, not close enough. So that means he's going to have to follow for another lap. Bit more wear on the tyres, following another car. Not ideal, but so far these super softs are hanging in there. So Verstappen can play with these energy deployment and basically compromise himself around the entire lap, but in terms of total lap time, but just to try and give himself a bit more defence against the Ferrari. But look at that gap now to Rosberg. It was 1.5 seconds last time around. Has he managed to get it any closer? There's no doubt that Hamilton's playing the game here. He is trying to slow it all down and get the opposition involved. Karun.
Yeah, Nico Rosberg's been on the radio again, guys, to the team, saying we need to do something here because they are catching and I can go so much faster. So the tension's really, really building up. 5 laps to go. It's incredible stuff. Yeah, and there's nothing the team can do now. They are sitting back and watching like the rest of us. It is between them, and it's involving these two as well. And it should be, shouldn't it? Max Verstappen, who's been the sensation of 2016, he is going to play a part in this, one way or the other. And so is Sebastian Vettel, the 4-time world champion, who's had a miserable season with Ferrari, but he's found his mojo here today. It's a track he's always gone well at. 3 times he has won at this circuit, wrapped up the title here in the past as well. So he really knows what to do. Can he do something, get past Verstappen and then go after Nico Rosberg? It certainly looks like he's on target to do so. Just looking like he's getting to the end of the usable life from these tyres. You know, you obviously, when you bang them on, you get a big increase in grip, but with each lap you're losing performance.
Within 2-3 tenths of DRS, Max.
Yeah, just warning Max how close Vettel is. But I think he was saying you're within 2 or 3 tenths of DRS. I think it's saying, look, if you can just pull out a little bit more whilst you're defending against the Ferrari for a podium finish, then you can get a neutralising effect on the DRS, because if at the moment he's vulnerable to the overspeed as Vettel locks up down into this tight section, doing everything he can to try and get that bit closer when he gets the car running down into the hairpin at turn 7. Hamilton is in a perfect position in a way. He can see exactly how close those 2 other cars are. If he can manage this a bit, if he can get them to squeeze in between himself and his teammate, he'll be world champion. So Hamilton's calculating all this. He'll be looking around at the big screens around the circuit as well, just analysing how big the gap is. He's controlling the pace of this race so far. But it all depends on the battle between Verstappen and Vettel. And Verstappen will not give up that 3rd place easily. It's a podium finish after all. Well, the team might not like the fact that Hamilton hasn't responded to the instruction, but when all said and done,
this is giving us a fantastic end to this World Championship, coming down to the closing laps of the 21 Grand Prix season. It feels like a marathon of Grand Prix races.
Yeah, but what a climax this is turning into. This is absolutely fabulous. Hamilton ahead, Rosberg where he needs to be, and Vettel having another little look now at getting past Verstappen, but it'll be the next section, which is probably his favoured part, and you can see how hard Verstappen used the curb there. That might have actually cost him a little bit of wheel spin.
Yeah, Verstappen's vulnerable.
So he's going to go defensive. He'll go to the inside. Vettel forced to the outside, under braking, and he's done it. As long as he hasn't overshot the corner, he's in third place. Now he goes after Nico Rosberg. Will he take Verstappen with him? That's the big question, because if both Vettel and Verstappen get past Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton will be world champion. It's that close. Right now, looking at the points, if they finish as they are now, yes, Rosberg would be champion, but this is not over yet.
Lewis, this is Paddy. We need you to pick up the pace to win this race. That's an instruction.
Paddy, I'm actually in the lead right now. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Paddy, I'm in the lead right now. I'm quite comfortable where I am. He's doing his own thing. Mercedes are asking him. He's not responding.
Yeah, I think that's unfair psychological torment to Lewis Hamilton. They understand he's a racer. They said we're going to let them race. We're going to give them equal chance to battle for this world title. Well, why are they then? I'm not interested in this battle. I'm interested in the one up front. Why are they now getting in Lewis's head?
Well, it's an interesting point. Look at that, two Manor guys coming together. That's not the way they should be finishing off the season. Ocon and Wehrlein, but it just shows you the rivalry. Are we going to see something similar between the Mercedes boys?
Did you get my point, Ben? You know, everything, and we've got to take a hat off to the way Mercedes have managed the drivers, allowing them to run their strategies, allowing them to race. But that is a slightly awkward moment to be giving instructions. There's a world title at stake here, not just the race win.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I think they should just be left to do what they want to do. Vettel, but is within DRS range now of Nico Rosberg. Now remember, if he goes past, Rosberg can still finish third and can win the World Championship. But if Verstappen, who's in that group, at the back of that group, if he gets past as well, then it's all over for Nico Rosberg. 21 races, and we are down to the final 4 laps. Less than 4 laps to go in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Still, the title is unresolved between Hamilton and Rosberg. It's Sebastian Vettel who could make some of the difference, and Max Verstappen who could make the rest of it. That is the question. Lewis Hamilton keeping the pace down, allowing them to catch. Something you would never normally see, but this is such a unique situation. Hamilton is not charging out in front. He wants them to catch. He wants them to pass Nico Rosberg, and this is getting more and more dramatic at every turn. And Nico's wife here as well. I wonder how she's feeling about it. The tension just building and building in that Mercedes garage. 3 laps to go. And still, Vettel needs to, first of all, get past Rosberg, and then we have to see what happens with Verstappen. This is magic, absolute magic. We could not have wanted a more dramatic season finale than this, and it's all down to Lewis Hamilton, who is taking it totally within his own grasp.
Vettel just a bit deep on the brakes there in his quest to try and get right into that DRS and slipstream position of Rosberg, so Rosberg will know he can breathe easy for at least the next 2 straights.
You notice how Hamilton always pulls away at the key point on the track. Before they get to the straights, he opens up the gap so that Rosberg cannot get the DRS and overtake him, but then in the tight section, the last part of the track, he always slows it right down, and that allows everyone else to catch up. This is clever driving from Hamilton. It's classic stuff in a championship situation like this. But is it going to work for him? Because Verstappen's not that close, you know. Hamilton's going to have to slow it down even more than this.
No, I think Verstappen spent those tyres. He's been on them for too long now, and he can only get onto the back of this battle if Hamilton continues to back them up. This is, well, Rosberg, he knows he can drop a place, but that's not going to make him feel any more comfortable right now.
No, and bear in mind that if Rosberg were to crash out at this stage with Hamilton winning, then the title would certainly go to Lewis Hamilton, so he can't afford to tangle with Sebastian Vettel. How are the nerves for Nico Rosberg right now? It must be torment for him as we wait to see what's going on down in the Hamilton camp. Everybody glued to the monitors to see how this is going to be resolved. Is he going to become four-time world champion or not? Vettel on this next lap is surely going to go on the attack. 2 laps to go. So he's got really just a couple more chances in the key overtaking areas. Could see how much Rosberg was pushing there. This is the area where Hamilton is quick because he knows he needs to get away from Rosberg. And this is where Vettel needs a great exit out of turn 7 to slot into the slipstream of the Mercedes and the Ferrari with its edge on the straights.
Right now, I'm losing the world championship, so I'm not really bothered if I win or lose this race.
So that's the word from Hamilton right now. I'm losing this world championship. I'm not really bothered if I win or lose this race. It is just one race. And when you're going for a title, it's another story. Niki Lauda knows all too well what it is to be in both situations. Could be a chance for Vettel here. Depends how brave he's going to be. Rosberg surely is going to cover the inside. He does. And Vettel will try the outside. But that's not quite enough. So in the key overtaking area around the lap, he'll only have one more chance at it. And more significantly, Verstappen probably won't get a chance at all unless Hamilton slows it down so much. But then, of course, if Hamilton slows it that much, he's in danger of being hit by his teammate. Nico Rosberg's wife crossing everything right now. Vivian can't quite believe what's going on here. Still, Vettel chasing down Nico Rosberg. They will be coming around this time with just a lap to go. Lewis Hamilton has commanded this race from the start, but he can't do any more, surely, than he has already. On to the final lap, and as it stands at the moment, Nico Rosberg is going to be world champion, but Sebastian Vettel has not given up, and where is Verstappen? That's more crucial. Rosberg can afford to lose one place here. He cannot afford to crash. So, does he let Vettel through? That's got to be going through his mind as well. Hamilton leading all the way. Nothing more he can do here. He's just going to be watching in his mirrors to see if somebody gets past his teammate onto the backstretch. Now it's the next straight that normally Vettel goes for it.
Remember, you only need P3.
And a reminder to Nico Rosberg, you can afford to lose second place. Verstappen surely is not close enough, but Hamilton has really slowed it down on this lap because Verstappen is a little bit closer. Now Vettel will pick up the pace. This is the key overtaking area coming up on the last lap. Surely Vettel's going to go for it. He's going to try and take second place, which would be one of his best results of the season. Rosberg fends him off there, though. Good stuff from Nico Rosberg so far. Now we're into the last third of a lap, virtually. And Hamilton will be doing anything he can here to slow everybody up. Look how close the top 4 are. Rosberg, if he stays where he is right now, will have done it. Vettel, the 4-time world champion, has not found a way past him yet. Hamilton again, no doubt, trying to slow it all up. Vettel will take advantage of any little gap that is offered to him, but he probably won't try a do-or-die manoeuvre because he's been in situations like this before himself. He can see what's happening. Lewis Hamilton is going to come through to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but Nico Rosberg is the 2016 world champion. He's done it, and Lewis Hamilton, despite everything he could do in that race, could not prevent it happening. Nico Rosberg's done it 34 years after his father Keke Rosberg won the world championship in 1982. He has repeated that feat. The same thing that Damon Hill did in 1996, following in his father's footsteps, Nico Rosberg has finally achieved. And you have to admire his resilience, his mental strength to deal not just with this season, but with that entire race. Look at the reaction.
Yes! World champion! Brilliant! Nico, you are world champion.
Unbelievable. What a dramatic finish. And he's being congratulated by the other drivers as well as they come through and overtake him. Lewis Hamilton did everything he could, but in the end, Rosberg did enough. He finished in second place. He has won the 2016 World Championship after an incredible season. 21 races. No mechanical failures at all for Nico Rosberg. A key mechanical failure for Lewis Hamilton. But let's not forget that over these 3 years, They have each had 4 mechanical failures that have cost them in races over these 3 years. So it has kind of balanced out over this period of dominance for Mercedes. And today, Rosberg did enough, but only just.
Moki, amazing job! I'm so proud of you! You did amazing! Woohoo!
Dhabi, we did it! Dhabi, we did it!
Well, some fantastic emotion as Vivian on the radio to Nico Rosberg. Their young daughter here as well this weekend, and he has achieved his dream. Felipe Massa, of course, coming to the end of his Formula One career, and he scored points in 9th. Let me quickly run you through the top 10. It was Hamilton, Rosberg, Vettel, Verstappen 4th, Ricciardo 5th, Raikkonen in 6th, Hülkenberg 7th and Perez in 8th. Great double points finish for Force India. Felipe Massa 9th on his final race, and Fernando Alonso took the final point. And I do believe they'll be virtually tied on points. I think Alonso might still just have retained 10th place in the championship. We'll have to check that because they were very close to one another in the points, were Massa and Alonso. Just outside the points were Grosjean and Gutierrez. Haas missing out once again, I'm afraid. Esteban Ocon did beat his teammate Pascal Wehrlein.
Well, thank you guys, thank you very much. We'll never forget this car, this moment, this team, this job. So thank you really, all of you guys, for everything. Not only you, but everything that I work together. Thank you very much.
Lovely response from Massa. He got a wonderful reception at Williams last night. But it's Nico Rosberg who celebrates with the donuts, having won the 2016 title, taken down to the wire. And while Lewis Hamilton may have won 10 races versus Nico Rosberg's 9, his utter consistency won in the day. And he's made an awful mess of those tyres, but he doesn't care anymore. Nobody cares. It's just a dramatic finale to a wonderful season. And the rivalry that has existed between Hamilton and Rosberg over the last 3 years has seen Rosberg emerge triumphant this time. What a special, special time for Nico Rosberg. The pressure is off at last, the sense of relief. And he has dealt with that pressure incredibly well over the last part of this season. He knew what he had to do. Keep finishing just behind Hamilton, it would be enough. And he dealt with that, even in the rain in Brazil, after a half slide. Even when Verstappen had got past him in Brazil, he didn't let it get to him. He didn't crumble at any stage. He kept on fighting. And Nico Rosberg has therefore won the World Championship. For Lewis Hamilton, however, what can you say about this man? So brilliant, so fast, so determined to win. And still I rise, emblazoned on his crash helmet. He will come back, there's no doubt. He is one of the all-time greats of Formula One. But on this occasion, this year, it's been a points victory for his rival, Nico Rosberg.
Okay, fucking hardcore.
Nico Rosberg enjoying the moment totally and celebrating with everybody that he can find pretty much. He's been crowd surfing, he's been enjoying the moment. And quite right too. And then up into the Prix podium room. Still not having taken his crash helmet off. And then just look at this. Look at how he dealt with Bernie Eccleston. I wonder whoever was the last person to do that, as Nico Rosberg makes the most of his world title win.
Nico, quick wait.
The all-important weighing scales. Yes, don't forget the crash helmet when you're doing that.
I thought slow down, they go just
Good. With his engineer there.
Make the next one a bit early.
It's close, huh? But you know the danger now. I can't say in front. Say in front of the camera. What's that? So what's your fancy? I don't know. I think I should. I have fresh and bad. I'm a bit careful. I really don't need that energy. I don't need that energy. Really don't. Good job, man.
Herbie Blash there on the left. His final Grand Prix as Charlie Whiting's assistant. Very little interaction between Rosberg and Hamilton, isn't there? But it's the way it is, and Nico Rosberg's the one with a big smile on his face. I wonder what Sebastian was thinking in those last couple of laps as to whether he was going to make a lunge to get past Rosberg or not, but he didn't.
Sebastian, ven, fate una foto qui dentro.
And the family can celebrate, and conversations going on already. And for Lewis's mum, well, disappointment that he didn't win the title, but from her point of view, I'm sure she's just happy he's back and has another chance to fight again next year. So the guys are beginning to make their way out onto the podium. Sebastian Vettel finished in third place, only his second podium in 12 Grand Prix. What a good way to finish what has been a tough season for the Ferrari team. And he won't be having this one taken away from him, unlike in Mexico, I don't think. Nico Rosberg finishes in second place. He is the new world champion. And he gets to share the celebrations on the podium as well, which will be very, very special. It's never quite the same when the new champion doesn't get to come out on the podium. Second place enough. but the winner of the race itself, taking his 10th victory of 2016 and his 3rd win here at Abu Dhabi, his 53rd career victory. It is Lewis Hamilton. The anthems play out for Lewis Hamilton and for Mercedes, who have conquered Formula One for another season. Lewis takes the last victory of this current era of Formula One car. They change next year, they'll be faster. The engines remain much the same, but the chassis, the aerodynamics will all change considerably. So to take the final win of the era is a big deal. And it's Tony Ross who's going to take the trophy on behalf of the constructor. And Nico Rosberg, who's going to take the trophy for 2nd place. He doesn't get his World Champion trophy on this occasion, but that one will do for now because it's enough. Tony Ross, who's been Nico's race engineer actually right from the early days in Formula One. They worked together at Williams, and Nico brought him with him when he went to Mercedes. These two had a long standing relationship. Yes, and I think Nico had taken the wrong trophy in all of his excitement. And Sebastian Vettel takes the trophy for 3rd place. Another podium to add to his podiums here in Abu Dhabi, where he's always had so much success. But Nico Rosberg becomes the winner of the 12th title for a German driver in 23 years, backing up those, of course, of Michael Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel. It's taken him more Grand Prix starts than any other driver in history, beating Nigel Mansell's record of 176 starts to be world champion in 1992. This was Nico Rosberg's 206th start, but he didn't give up. He never gave up, and it's a lesson for everyone. He has won the championship. And he loves the Middle East. The last time he won any championship was in Bahrain back in 2005 when he won the GP2 series. Well, a really tremendous achievement for the man who's probably the most international Formula One star, in that he has a German mother, a Finnish father. He was born in Germany, grew up in Monaco. He speaks German, French, Italian, Spanish and English. And he is now on top of the world. He is #1.
Race fans here in Abu Dhabi and around the world, we'll just get our podium winners here to come on down. We're going to start with Lewis Hamilton. So your 53rd victory in Formula One, but I suspect this is a slightly different feeling than some of the others.
Honestly, I feel great. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that came out to support us. I got so many British flags out here this weekend, and thank you so much. I love you guys. I want to say thanks to my family for all their support, and especially to the team for doing such a great job. It's been a real privilege being a part of this team and achieving the success we had this year. I mean, I never would have thought when I joined this team that I'd have that many wins. So that's 30. I think that's 32 wins with this team. So a big thank you to everyone here and back at the factory. And a big congratulations to Nico, of course, his first World Championship. Good job, man.
Allow me to get out of the way when you're doing the handshake, actually. Well done. Well, you're nice and wet. Actually, maybe you just, I don't want to force anything, but you can do the handshake again. I was spoiling the shot. I was in between you. There you go. Nice, there's the love. Nico, so just another day in the office.
Hell no, that was definitely not the most enjoyable race I've ever had. With Max in the beginning, and then with those guys coming up in the end, really not very enjoyable those last laps. So very, very glad it's over and unbelievably ecstatic. And I want to, how do you call when you give the win to my wife, to you, Nupi? Amazing, thank you so much for all the support. And to our daughter, Alaya. It's just unreal.
Don't you cry on us, Nico.
And then, I mean, I'll thank everybody else afterwards, but unreal.
I can see the tears and we understand why. We do, of course, have to wait a week on Friday before you officially get announced in their position, but 34 years ago, this was a similar time for the Rosberg family.
Yeah, very, very proud, of course, to have done the same feat as my dad achieved. He's going to be coming in like half an hour, I think, so be exciting to see him.
Fantastic. Well, Nico, we'll come back to you. We'll leave you with those thoughts. Now, Sebastian Vettel. It's been a while. Yeah. You've not been here since Monza. We've aged. I have aged. I have. I haven't had my hair done. Yeah. You look wonderful. Where have you been? Why has it taken this long? That was an amazing strategy, and you really came back and pushed these guys hard.
Well, before I answer your question, I think congratulations. Really, I think it was tough out there the last couple of laps. I didn't want to be in his shoes. I was trying to, get close and have another go, because I was thinking to why not pass both of them if Lewis is going that slow in front. But yeah, it was difficult because my tires were also dropping more to the end. But you mentioned the strategy, obviously. A bit stuck at the beginning of the race, couldn't really unfold my pace. I was starting to get a bit frustrated. But yeah, once I had clean air, I could really also on the old tires really unleash the pace that we had today. And I think yeah, the whole team deserves the podium today. I think we've worked so hard. We've had so much criticism this year. Sometimes right, sometimes not justified, but that's how it goes. It's a tough game. We're fighting really tough opponents, and as I said, it's been a tough year, but obviously it's nice to finish on a high, and I think we take that momentum into next year. There's a lot of work going on back in Maranello, so big thanks also to everyone there.
Well, the Ferrari fans will be glad to hear that. Congratulations on your podium. Just coming back in, Lewis, you're a man who wears your heart on your sleeve. Your face doesn't lie. You know, we've seen you celebrate some victories. Tell us a little bit your emotion, your thoughts right now on where you are today.
Well, I mean, I did everything I could these last 4 races, and that's all I could really ask for myself. So I leave here. I'm going to have a lot of fun tonight, celebrating with the team and everyone. And you can't win them all. Obviously, we had a lot of problems this year, so that's inevitably why I'm in this position. But I'm still grateful for all the success and ups and downs we had as a team.
Excellent. Well, Lewis, congratulations on this victory. Nico, just coming back to you. You're holding it, but you want to unleash those tears, don't you?
No, it's okay. I mean, I also want to say congrats to Lewis for you did a great season, great competitor, massively quick always. So congrats, always tough to beat you. And guys at the team Mercedes, please put the music on. I'm coming down in 1 second. And my mom, really looking forward to seeing her. She's going to be coming with my dad in a second. So whole family together, it's going to be wonderful.
Nico, congratulations to all our podium finishers, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks everybody out there. Thanks for all the support.
I hope you've enjoyed this season of Formula One racing. Tune in again, March next year. You're getting what you asked for. Faster, wider, louder cars. Thank you very much.
Nico Rosberg has dedicated himself to winning this title tirelessly and relentlessly, and his professionalism has paid off with the ultimate prize. Like Damon Hill before him, he has followed in his father's footsteps, but succeeded in his own unique way, and he has become the 2016 world champion.